It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Tuesday, April the 23rd, Boston with the song Peace of Mind. Yeah, I'm looking for some. You know when I'm looking for peace of mind? First thing every day. I am one of the 96% of Americans who don't wake up feeling good. That's right. Only 4% of us say we feel good when we wake up in the morning. I don't want to be this guy, but I'm this guy. I rarely wake up like, yes. And then like last night, for example, 1:30 a.m., exactly 1:30 by the phone on my clock, Chauncey started snorting, making noise.
Yeah.
I got up, and then he settled right back down to sleep, and then that was it. And then I'm up, and then I'm fighting and trying to go to sleep, and I'm breathing, and I'm counting slowly, deep breaths, and then I'm thinking about, oh, wait, I think I was supposed to pay the phone bill. And then I start to count deep breaths, and then I think, man, I can't believe I didn't fix that drum fill on that one song on that record 9 years ago.
Haunting you, is it?
And then as is per usual, alarm set for, let's just call it 4 a.m., about 3:40, I fall asleep.
Yeah. That's always fun when you find yourself dozing off and you know the alarm is imminent. I hate those kind of nights. Or I will often, just wake up, and mine is asking the alarm. I ask my alarm what time it is.
Oh,
one of those deals, and it'll tell me, and it's a half hour before it goes off. Well, and then I'm screwed. I've asked a question, it's answered, and now we're up and at 'em. And there we go. But I'll fight it. I'll lay there. I'll try and fall asleep. I think that's what I might have done this morning because I shut my alarm off. Thank God I had the backup alarm. Otherwise, I'd be snoozing away right now, probably.
They say 21% of us blame animals for poor sleep. That's me all damn day.
Yeah,
because
me too. Gigi had diarrhea last night.
Oh man, between you and Gigi, what are you two eating? Maybe you both ought to switch food. You eat Gigi's food for a while. Let her have your diet. I don't know what's going on over there.
Gigi didn't do that in bed, though.
No. I just had to get up a few times, and I had to rub her belly and make her feel better. So I wasn't able to sleep very well. Right.
I'm so, my dad was animals outside, never allowed inside.
Yeah.
Even the family dog, no inside. They had their own. And the dog, don't feel sorry for the dog. They had a dog house, larger than the apartment most people are living in now with a heat lamp, but not inside. And then mine is not in the bedroom. Doors shut, animals out. But then they kick and scream out there.
Yeah, Gigi's not really like an animal. She's like a stuffed animal.
Chauncey's an animal who gets
diarrhea.
Chauncey expands as he sleeps. He goes to sleep curled up always, and then as he sleeps, he gets longer and wider and fatter, and he just gets. And before you know it,
I'm the same way.
We're right in the. We look like the letter H. I'm at one end of the bed, Rosemary's on the other, the two long, and then he's in the middle sideways, separating us, and it's just the worst. And then when he is at his deepest moment of sleep, that's when the cat decides it's okay to get on the bed too. And Milo will literally walk on my head. He'll cross over my head to get near Rosemary. Yeah. So it's just ridiculous, and it's so far down the road. There's no way to change sleeping with the pets at this point because as soon as you fall, you can put him on his own bed, but then as soon as we're asleep, he's hopping up, and then you don't notice it, and you wake up and he's on my legs.
And you know what doesn't make me feel better when the pets wake me up is when I come home and I see them just snoozing away on their little cushion right there in front of the sun, and I go over and I wake them up. I keep waking them up. Hey, get up. Come on, get up. But it doesn't make me feel any better, certainly not more rested. In fact, I think now they're asleep, I'm going to nap with them, curl up in the sun. Does that sound nice?
There's a study from Australia, a sleep study that says the best way to wake up is to music. Like if you are someone who is asleep on a regular basis, when the alarm goes off, see if you can work it so that it's music as opposed to an alarm.
Okay.
Especially if it's an upbeat, catchy melody. Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys. Right. Researchers say melodies do a better job at holding your attention. That helps to get your brain going, and then it's better for an alarm. I used to have, and I mean, as a kid, this was a pretty pretty cush item to own, which was a clock radio. Like, oh my God, I can set an alarm and it'll go off to music, and it's the radio every day. Yeah. And when I was in 10th grade, 6:40 a.m. is when that bad boy went off every day. I went to bed the night of December 8th, devastated, thinking I'll never sleep again after John Lennon had been shot and killed that night. I woke up at 6:40 to the alarm radio station was playing Just Like Starting Over by John Lennon. And so after only getting a few hours sleep and grieving in my sleep, I wake up to hear that song, and I had this moment of, oh my God, that was just a bad dream. Oh yeah, wait, I dreamed all that. This is great. And then I sat up, and as soon as the song ended, the guy goes, and in case you hadn't heard, John Lennon was shot to death last night in New York City.
Still dead.
And I was like, nah. And I was like, I'll never wake up to music again. It was just too devastating. And when I wake up and music is playing, at some point within the first minute, I will always remember that night. It's that morning. I wish I could just turn parts of my brain off, but that's one that I just can't get rid of.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's...
Jarring wake-ups were a part of my life. My dad was not the let me walk in, sit on the edge of the bed, and rub his back till he wakes up type. It was the lights were turned on, time to get up, and it was just, it was Paris Island wake-up calls for us.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had a few of those in your lives up.
I did basic, but, at a time when you could do it, there was, when you're a teenager, you can literally, you wouldn't think so based on our teenagers' behaviors, but you can literally be in deep REM sleep and then standing at attention at the end of your bunk in the same second. Just bang, just like that. It can happen. And now if I did that, I'd injure myself. I'd have a mental breakdown probably. The rest of the day would be ruined. But back then you could do it and make it work for you. But my dad was the same way. I feel like my dad was always preparing us for basic training, right down to the cleaning of the room and the bouncing of the quarter and off the bed sheets and everything. It was a constant. I got to basic training and I'm like, this is all you got? Whatever. But those abrupt ways to wake up, now it wouldn't work. Now I would just whip something at your head or worse, assault you if you tried to wake me up in such a manner.
I had a tough wake up yesterday afternoon. I took a nap, and normally my afternoon nap is sitting in a chair, maybe laying on the couch. It's 30 minutes. Yesterday, though, I actually just went up and got in bed and
committed.
And I did, and it went for like a full-on hour and a little more, which is a really dumb way to take a nap because it's too long. What woke me up was the dryer. Rosemary had some laundry going, and then the dryer at the end of the cycle, it goes diddle-doo-doo, diddle-doo-doo, diddle-doo-doo-doo.
And it keeps doing it about every 5 minutes, doesn't it?
And I woke up to that thinking it was my alarm, searching, where's my phone? Oh my God, I slept too late. And thinking it was 4 a.m. and I'd overslept, or I was I can't believe I slept till the morning, and then realizing it's really bright out, and this has just been a nap, and the whole cycle starts over again. I'm just in hell.
Welcome to hell. We're up and at 'em now, and we're off and running. We have game shows, we have weird lists, and we have unfun facts to get to this morning. We have a lot to get to. We have sports and music history and Mike Evans' Hollywood Report coming quickly. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Tuesday, April 23rd. It's a perfectly good time, especially on a Tuesday, for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, KQRS, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Steve and Candace and Tony and Zepp. It's Tuesday. $6 for any movie at any Marcus Theaters. And I've told you there's some great movies playing right now. $6. Take the day off and go to the movies and go to Marcus. Enjoy the great seating, the food, and it's a one-stop to make your day. Well, congratulations to Cher and the Dave Matthews Band. Foreigner, I love me some Foreigner. Ozzy Osbourne, Kool and the Gang. And Peter Frampton, love Peter Frampton, all being nominated to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yesterday. Comment, I see Dave Matthews Band every chance I can. Used to love to see Kool and the Gang. I've actually played soccer a couple of times against Foreigner.
Easy.
And boy, have I known Cher a long time. A long, long time. In fact, when I first met Cher, she was singing under the name of Cleo, and she was a teenager. And I'm so happy for Peter Frampton. I mean, that is just fabulous. TV news. So they're going to make a sequel from The Office, but so far none of the big names are attached. Well, these TV sequels never make it. They never work. I mean, you can date back a half a century ago. I Love Lucy became Here's Lucy, bombed. Andy Griffith Show became Mayberry RFD, bombed. Cheers tried to come back briefly, bombed. The Joey Show. Remember that? That was spun off from Friends. Bombed. Golden Place spun from Golden Girls. Bombed. Young Americans spun from Dawson's Creek. Bombed. I mean, so I imagine The Office will be the next show to try to make a sequel, and it will bomb. Hey, movie casting news. Alan Ritchson, who is really great in the TV show Reacher and just as good in the current movie The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Well, Alan is now campaigning to be the next Batman. I can see that. By the way, your reminder, The Ministry of the Ungentlemanly Warfare movie, $6 at Marcus Theaters. My favorite movie of last week. Hey, so do you play pickleball or tennis? How about you, Steve? Well, celebrities play both, and the top 5 celebrity tennis players who never play pickleball: Kaylee Cuoco, Ben Stiller, Brad Pitt, Hugh Grant, and Dakota Fanning. On the other hand, celebrities who play pickleball and have quit tennis: Selena Gomez, Ellen DeGeneres, Emma Watson, Will Ferrell, and Billie Eilish. Personally, I prefer tennis, but most of my friends play pickleball. And finally, is it true Taylor Swift is considering an acting career? And you heard it here first. Hey, have a great day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. Mike Evans, see ya.
He could say she's considering any career, and I would think she could go into medicine for all I know. I mean, I wouldn't put it past her. That is an ambitious young woman. Just saying.
Yeah.
And by the way, Taylor Swift, when she was on, I've seen her in, skits and sitting in. She'll do fine. She'll pick the right part. She'll win an Oscar. I mean,
I can't wait.
Yeah, I don't need to be involved in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying she'll do just fine. That's how that works. Hey, speaking of people crossing over into acting, let's take a look back. April 23rd, oh, Captain, my captain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played his final game in the regular season on this day against the Seattle Supersonics. It was his 1,560th game. He scored 10 points. His teammates gave him a white Rolls Royce at the Forum, which is
nice.
Obviously a stretch. They had to put an extra, couple inches on that seat thing. I saw Kareem Abdul's final game at the Omni in Atlanta that season, the last time he played the Atlanta Hawks. And by that time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as much as I love him, there's no getting around it, he was very much the player described in the movie Airplane by Little Joey in the cockpit. By the way, the movie Airplane, no greater surprise in my young life than watching that movie and suddenly going, is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar the co-pilot? Like, the last guy in the world you'd think would show up in a comedy at that time. He was so surly. And then he was, of course, Roger Murdoch, the co-pilot. And the little kid goes, my dad says you don't hustle back on defense and you only try in the playoffs. Oh, my God. That was the greatest, cameo appearance in the history of film, as far as I knew. Another quick note from a Lakers center before he was, when Orlando Magic center Shaquille O'Neal on this day in 1993 throttled a backboard in New Jersey, a game against the Nets. Shaquille O'Neal with a dunk. Second to last game of the season. The New York Times wrote, the basket crashed to the floor as if O'Neal had just chopped it with an axe. It fell so fast he didn't have time to get out of the way. The 24-second clock on top of the basket landed on Shaquille's back. O'Neal walked away nonchalantly like he was on his way to the grocery store. The problem with him doing that is, well, it delays the game for like 45 minutes while they put a new backboard up. It is cool to break a backboard. Unfortunately, his teammate, guard Nick Anderson, scored a career-high 50 points, and nobody cared or noticed. if you're going to score 50 points once in your career, make sure your teammates don't break backboards dunking the ball while you do it. Yeah. That's the lesson of the day.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. You're probably on your way to work. You're getting ready to go to work. You're getting ready to go to school. Whatever it is you're getting ready to do, you're probably going to have a cup of coffee. You might make it at home. You might stop at a coffee shop on the way. If for some crazy reason you're listening to us from Canada, you're going to stop at a Tim Hortons for that cup of coffee because that's what Canadians do. It's the law. If you've ever spent any time in any of the many lovely cities in Canada, there's Tim Hortons are everywhere. The coffee, it's like they're Dunkin' Donuts.
We used to have one on campus here, but it was short-lived. I don't know.
Really? There was one or two around here before, but I couldn't remember. I thought maybe I'm thinking of the steakhouse, which is not Tim Hortons, and we'll keep moving along. But all right, so I'm not crazy. There was one in Dinkytown.
Don't cheat yourself.
Not here no more, though.
Don't cheat yourself on their breakfast sandwiches if you find yourself at a Tim Hortons. The donuts are nice, yeah, but that sausage and egg on a English muffin
my God,
stuff.
I want that so bad right now.
Yeah. Tim Hortons knows what's up. So again, Canadians, boy, they love their Tim Hortons. It's just what happens. And Tim Hortons, not only do they have nice coffee and nice donuts and nice all sorts of things, they have a lot of great contests. They had one called Roll Up to Win recently. The grand prize was a $40,000 fishing boat. And a guy named Darren Stewart Jones got an email last week. You've won the boat. Darren, congratulations. You are the Tim Hortons $40,000 fishing boat grand champion winner. He was jacked about it. About an hour later, his friend called and said, dude, I won the boat from Tim Hortons. And Darren said, wait, what? He goes, dude, I won a boat, the $40,000 boat. I won the boat. As it turns out, everybody thought they won the boat.
What?
Tim Hortons sent out an alert. Congratulations on winning the 2024 Tracker Target 18 boat and trailer on Facebook to 40. Let's see. I'm sorry. It was a $40,000 boat. They sent the you won the boat to 2,000 people. 2,000 people.
I mean, it's not winning, obviously, one of those big lottos, but a $40,000 fishing boat. First of all, I didn't even know they could get it. Of course, they can get that expensive. But wow, man, how stoked would you be? I mean, that would be so far the best day in my life acquiring anything.
Sure.
You know, having won anything, bought anything, homes, anything. Oh, yeah. A $40,000 fishing boat, I'd be on top of the world. Of course, I'd call my buddy.
Well, it was actually more than 2,000. The 2,000 number, that's how many people have joined a Facebook group called Tim Hortons You Want a Boat Group. 2,000 people have already signed up.
Sorry.
And by the way, they're all demanding their boats. And now a whole lot of angry Canadians are threatening a class action lawsuit. Do you know how bad you have to screw up to get a bunch of Canadians all pissed off at the same time at the same thing? That's damn near impossible. So done, Tim Hortons.
Here's some of them right here.
I was thrilled. I could not believe what I was reading. I expressed to her that I was, shocked and saddened.
It's frustrating that they can tell you won something and then just say, all of a sudden you didn't win it. Like, that's the frustrating part, and it just doesn't make sense how they can do that.
They do owe people what they won, and an email just isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, you didn't win it, and I don't know what the legalities here are, but shut up. Honestly. I mean, it's you didn't win. You see how mistakes happen. I mean, now you're going to hire a lawyer, get into a class action lawsuit, take it to Tim Hortons. I mean, it's not like they've done something like this before, right?
Oh, no, not this year. It was last year, 2023, when Tim Hortons told a bunch of people they'd all won $10,000 cash. Same slip up.
All right, who's manning the email over there? Maybe we can move them into, I don't know, make them a barista, get them into a different department.
It might be Tim Horton himself from Beyond the Grave. Just, he's got the hockey head. He's just like, I'm just having fun in my old death.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big screw up. I hope it doesn't cost the company too much, and people have to understand it was a mistake. Sorry, I know it's frustrating. Sorry, I know it's frustrating, but you're not getting a $40,000 fishing boat out of it. But the fact that you did the same damn thing last year, I mean, what's the Come on, boys
It's
and
pretty
girls.
rough.
We've got to learn a lesson here.
I love every now and again you stumble across a tremendous correction from the corporate world or from especially a media source. Newspapers that have to print corrections.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. There was one last year. A couple years ago, a Brazilian news magazine did a lengthy profile, like the New York Times Sunday magazine, like a really, a highly esteemed magazine in Brazil that covers politics, did a long, exhaustive report on a candidate. And the correction that they had to put in after was the candidate likes to spend his free time reading Tolstoy and not watching Toy Story as originally reported. Can you imagine if you're reading a big profile on a vice presidential candidate? It's like in his free time, he likes to watch Toy Story.
I mean, that seems more like an American politician right there.
It certainly does. Here's another great one from a newspaper called The Morning Star. In yesterday's paper, in Chris Cyril's Jazz Albums column, we incorrectly referred to Don Rendell as a terrorist when it clearly should have been tenorist. He's a tenor saxophone player. We apologize for any offense.
I mean, there is a fine line between a tenor and someone that terrorizes people.
Well, it's called they pick up the alto sax. Then that is terror. Keep it at the tenor, boys.
Whoopsie.
Keep it at the tenor.
Oh, yeah. It's
pretty
that one
good.
might be actionable right there. But oopsie, a little slip up at the keyboard. This is what happens when you get rid of editors. And you rush everything to get it on. We got to get it on before someone else puts the story up and someone else clicks on it. Edit. Screw that. Just put it out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right.
No, nothing wrong with that.
Here's some from the New York Times. An earlier version of this article misidentified the subject of a sculpture by Jonathan Lyndon Chase. It is of a plastic bag, not a toilet seat. What?
First of all, it's either or, right? I mean, it's a sculpture of a plastic bag,
right?
Is what it actually is, not a toilet seat. All right,
apparently so.
I'm going to give was it the Times? I'm going to give them a pass on that one.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of I like this one. An earlier version of this article misstated the kind of seeds on Whopper buns. They are sesame seeds, not poppy seeds. I mean, come on.
Yeah, all right.
Then they apologized for putting Jimmy Kimmel's name on Jimmy Fallon photographs. There was an article about Serena Williams' foundation and having raised tens of millions of dollars for charity, and it included a photo of Venus Williams.
Oh, well, I imagine that happens from time to time with those ladies. They're sisters, close in age, both great tennis champions. But yeah, you want to
get
that
Times.
Right if you're in the biz, right? Yeah, it's the New York Times. Well, the New York Times, they screwed up a few times along the way. If I'm doing it on Facebook, who cares? Zepp got it wrong. But yeah, when you're the New York Times, that's got to go through somebody in charge that knows what the hell they're doing, right?
What the New York Times just needs, what we have, a dump button, so you can just no one sees it. I had my first, like a month ago.
Yes, you did.
What was it? Late in the show, last segment of the show. Mm-hmm. And I think earlier that week I had just been talking about the fact I'd never cussed on air. I somehow avoided it my whole career.
You did it to yourself, yeah.
And then, boy, did I go for I called my shot and I swung and I hit the ball real far.
Yeah, you didn't even pull up, halfway into it, like mid-syllable. It's a one-syllable. All the good ones are, but it's a one-syllable cuss.
It came right out. Hard.
You got the start of it, the end of it, with some exclamation. I might add.
There was an adjective involved. There was it was shocking, and then followed by in real time. I just sat here in stunned silence, praying Candace got that button before it went on over the air.
Nothing gets past me, Steve.
Man, I appreciate that.
That thing hasn't always worked.
Correct.
Right, exactly. We've had times where they've slipped up on the air, but everyone's dropped one. I did one just casually one morning. We're just talking, and I dropped it in like you just might say, just like I'm talking now, very casually, and then everybody, I saw the reaction of everyone around the room, and I went, Did I just say that? Because that's what I heard in my head. Did that come out of my mouth? And yeah, it happens. You broadcast long enough, you're going to drop one. But yeah, I liked yours. Yours was like a declaration, man.
It was.
I'm only sorry it didn't go out on the air.
It was a battle line. I just drew it. And I said, cross this line if you dare. The biggest mistake, I've made, we've all made countless mistakes, but the one that kept me up at night for a while lately. I say lately, but this one was like 5 years ago. So I wrote a book called Hard to Handle, the Life and Death of the Black Crows. And I also do the reading of that book. The audio version is me for about 14 hours spinning yarns. And so I'd never recorded an audiobook before, and you go into a studio and you're connected via Zoom to a guy who's called the director, who is really technically the producer. But he was in Atlanta. I was in Nashville. He's reading with me. And generally speaking, when a lot of authors read their own books, it takes forever because they're not good at speaking and or reading or communicating. But being a radio guy, I had a little easier time with it. I'm just used to talking on the mic. And it's my book about my story, so I was able to just kind of be in character the whole time, if you follow me. But we were on the last day. I'm in one of the final chapters, and the book has already been submitted for print. And by the time I'm doing the audiobook, nothing can be changed. And when you record an audiobook, you cannot add a single word. You cannot even add a
Right.
You can't.
I've been the guy on the other side of the Zoom, the producer /
have you?
Sound guy. Yeah, right, exactly. And you have to do that. You have to read along with every word. I'm like, I was just going to put my feet up until he coughed. But
yeah. Well, and as as you're telling a story that you've written in a flowing way, I'm trying to write the book so it's conversational to begin with.
Yeah.
But then as you're reading aloud, you want to put in the occasional word for emphasis. It just flows better. And the guy be like, nope, you cannot. It's like legally bound that you cannot add a single word or sound that's not on the written page. And I'm like, fine. So I get used to the idea that it is just done. There's, you are behind 9 Get Smart doors of security with this written version. It cannot be changed. And one of the last chapters of the book, I read the following line. In the spring of 2000, Pete was trying to come up with an idea. That was our manager. Mm-hmm. And as I read that aloud, and this is after months of editing and fact-checking and verb tense checking, and every word literally had been poured over. It was supposed to be in the spring of 2001. And I wrote in the spring of 2000.
Steve.
And I nobody but me could give a flying fart. And when that came out of my mouth in the spring of 2000, Pete was, oh, no, this is wrong. This is 2001. The guy goes, no, it says 2000. I go, I know, but it's 2001. It needs to be changed.
Too late.
It's too late to be changed. They're already printing it. And I got up, I walked out of the studio, I called the editor, the publisher, the guy that gave me the deal. I go, hey, man, there's a problem in chapter 38. You got to change a date. And he was like, dude. This is and I'm not kidding, man. I broke out in hives. I was so, and I didn't think other people will lose their mind. I just couldn't believe. I was like, I've spent 6 months editing this thing and fine tuning this thing. 6 months of every word, every paragraph, every sentence. How. And again, guess what? Nobody cares. Nobody else noticed. Doesn't mean a thing that I've already talked about in the previous chapter, the spring of 2000. Now I'm talking about a whole different series of events that happened in the spring of 2000. I'm the only person that knows until this moment on the show right now. And anybody listening has already forgotten what I'm complaining about.
I want my money back.
But man, did that one. I literally got home that day and Rosemary's like, what is wrong? I'm like, I'll tell you what's wrong. And she's looking at me like, yeah, perspective would be great for you sometime.
I can tell it's not bothering you anymore.
Oh, I'm totally over it. Totally over that and the 1979 World Series. We are family Pirates. Suck it.
Suck it.
Man.
Not the Pirates, baby. Getting her done. Worst Major League Baseball hats in history. You'd have to go back to the aughts. When they were appropriate, those hats. But yeah, always hated the hat. But Willie
really?
You had to like Willie. What was the beehive hat, the goofy looking thing? You had to have a handlebar mustache. It'd be a Raleigh Fingers to pull that hat off.
That's true.
Yeah, all right. We're moving along. Let's move along. We do have unfun facts this morning, just some things you wish you didn't know. They really bother some folks, and so maybe it's ammunition. You can bother someone at work today. Speaking of bothering someone, we got into this late in the show yesterday. Gross thing that your partner does. We had a Really, really bizarre call from a cat named Jeff. I mean, I was talking about that yesterday with just strangers I bumped into. I'm like, have you ever heard of this one? And I'm pretty sure I'm banned from at least one bicycle business as a result of it. Anyway, it's up on the KQ Facebook page. If you scroll down, Candace tossed it up there yesterday. There are some gross things on here. If you want to comment about your partner, family member, whomever does gross things, 651-989-ROCK. I'm going to put it back up on the board. Mike, my wife lets the dogs eat off her spoon or fork, and then she'll take another bite without cleaning it off first. I gag every time she does it.
Yeah,
Michael Jody responded, that's why nobody wants to do potlucks anymore. Here's Sarah, snot rockets in the sink. Yeah, the hubby will just let the snot rockets fly into the sink. Gross things that your partner
It's better
does.
than on the counter. If he's hitting the sink, he's doing his job.
Exactly, right? It's not going into the shag carpet from the recliner, is it? I mean, he's walking over to the sink. Yeah, that's why you've got a faucet there. Hopefully you don't have to use the disposal for it. It's not that much substance in the loogie. All right, well, we're getting gross. We're getting unfun here at about 7:25. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Good morning. It's Tuesday, April 23rd. Sammy Hagar and Van Halen right there with Right Now. Sam Hagar, as I like to call him, getting his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame next week. How about that? It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I love that. I love Sammy, man.
Don't they pay for those?
I don't know, but he's the
you have to petition and pay for them,
the 2,779th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stars. I was in L.A. in January, and I was walking along Hollywood Boulevard briefly, just for a block or two, and I was looking down. I was like, oh, here's all those stars. And I saw, Darius Rucker had one recently.
Yeah.
And then, and I believe, it was the weirdest mix of people. I don't know how they allocate them. I saw Darius Rucker and, Lucille Ball in the same block. And I was like, how are those still... How are they even close to each other? They're clearly removing old ones and putting them at the fringes and putting new ones in the middle or something. I'm not sure how it works.
I move them around like that little game we had with the blocks, and we try to that little puzzle thing. When I was a kid, I remember being down there, and I'm walking, and I think it was a souvenir shop, might have been a tattoo parlor down there in Hollywood, and Bob Hope's right out there in front, and all you could really read was the last B and the Hope part because someone had barfed all over it. And that's also the same street I stepped in human excrement. Threw those shoes away.
Yeah, the Hollywood Shuffle's a whole different thing once you've experienced it yourself.
Yeah, it's
nice.
All those stars are pretty dirty. I went there probably 6 or 7 years ago, and I was laying on the door stars. I was close to kissing
my God.
Good Lord.
Okay, wait. I'm saying then it was fine.
Okay.
It wasn't great.
6 or 7 years ago.
6 or 7 years ago. And then I went this past year. Oh man, they're black. You can't even see Ozzy's name.
Oh, well, he would like that. It's black, isn't it?
So you're contending Hollywood as a neighborhood went down the tubes in the last 6 or 7 years.
It was in the middle teens, 2015-16, that things finally took a turn for the worst in Hollywood. The most depraved community on planet Earth finally got dirty.
Just saying, it's getting real dirty out there.
Is it? All right. They could use a good street sweeping.
My first time ever in Los Angeles, in West Hollywood, I didn't see his star, but I saw a star. The first big celeb I ever saw was Tom Bosley, Mr. Cunningham from Happy Days.
What was he up to?
He was at a red light in a Rolls Royce like a boss. I was sitting in a van. The band went out there. First time ever. We're going to make a video. We're going to do some photo shoots. We're in L.A. The record's coming out next month. It's a big day. And I am sitting at a red light on Sunset Boulevard, and I look over, and I'm like, look at the Rolls Royce. That's pretty. It's Mr. C! I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, my God. Not only is Tom Bosley still alive, he's still driving around like it's 1978, and he's still Mr. Cunningham. What a badass he was.
Yeah, I remember they were one of the first ones to settle kind of a royalties lawsuit back in the day, the Happy Days cast, because, you go back to all the shows that we grew up loving. If you were a baby boomer or Gen Xer like ourselves, they didn't get squat for any of that stuff, as far as royalties and residuals. But I remember the Happy Days actors sometime, I think it was in the 1990s, settled a big one and sort of kicked that door wide open for everyone. Yeah, so we know how Bosley went ahead and celebrated. Went out and got himself a Rolls.
Yeah, he certainly did. I saw it on my very first trip to L.A., the celeb sightings in order. Tom Bosley, Soupy Sales.
Soupy
Sales at a place called the Hamburger Hamlet. And he was in a booth with like 3 other people, and he was holding court the way you would expect Soupy Sales to be holding court.
Yeah.
They were laughing at everything he said. It was just one story after the other. And I'm looking at him going, this is 1990, and I'm like, oh my God, if my parents were here, they would fall over dead.
A Pink Dot convenience store saw a Robert Duvall. There he was, the profile. There he was, standing there. I get the profile. I'm like, oh my God, it's freaking Robert Duvall, and I know it's Robert Duvall because people are taking pictures with him.
Yeah.
And so I don't get starstruck, often. It just doesn't happen. I'm just not wired that way. But I'm going to go over and get a little closer to Robert Duvall. I'm not going to get a picture taken with him, but I just want to get a little closer look. It's not Robert Duvall. It's a guy that looks an awful lot like him from the side, but when you get around to the front, it clearly was not Robert Duvall that people were clearly taking pictures with. It wasn't even like out in front of the Chinese Man's Theater, like where he's doing a Robert Duvall dressed in Robert Duvall cowboy outfit, maybe the Godfather suit or something, whatever. Maybe that Calvary helicopter Calvary pilot or captain in
Apocalypse Now.
Thank you, Apocalypse Now, something like that. But anyway, it wasn't that at all. He was just in a convenience store. Somebody mistook him, and then I did the same thing. But
and there it goes.
No, it wasn't him straight on. But I did see whoever the lead singer for. No, I'm just totally blanking. All right, moving along.
That lead singer. It's amazing though when you first go to L.A., especially if you're in Hollywood, West Hollywood, or the Valley. It's shocking how many famous people you do see because they're all there. And I remember my first few trips to California, I would always be like, I mean, this is crazy, right? Every time, and then I'd say that, and somebody would look at me and go, "Well, everyone lives here. It's where they all live."
Just like in traffic.
I'd see people. That first trip, I saw a couple of the cast members from The Young and the Restless. I was like, "Oh my God, no way!" You see everybody. You see like that dude from that one commercial. You just see faces constantly that you recognize.
Yeah, I went in the Rainbow one time. There's no mistaking Lemmy Kilmister at the corner of the bar eating French fries and drinking whiskey. And when I say drinking whiskey, it was in a glass whiskey, no rocks, no soda, but there with it, and a whole lot of ketchup. Like half the basket was ketchup, but
helps to cut that whiskey.
Yeah, there was no mistaking Lemmy. There's no I didn't get around to the front and go, "Oh, that's not Lemmy, that's Tommy Lee."
The other time we definitely, my wife and I had you don't have that moment where it's like, is that, because it's so obviously is that, was when we were at a Whole Foods and there stood Fabio.
Oh, with the hair, was it blowing? Does someone always have a fan on him?
Yep. A little battery powered hair blower right behind him. Fabio. He was in the produce section, and everybody in the store. And that's the thing too in LA. It's not like people don't react. No one's like super cool. Don't say anything. They're famous. Everyone's like, hey, Fabio, and he was loving it, man. And why wouldn't he be? Candace, most famous person you ever saw on the street? Is there someone that comes to mind? Yeah, just anywhere in LA, but just not like you were not at a concert, but like you're
Tony
just
Lee
minding your own
count.
business. You look up and there's a famous person.
Maybe Shannon Tweed. Is that her last name?
Shannon Tweed.
Yeah.
Didn't
she date Gene Simmons for a while and did some soft core movies?
They've been married forever, right? Yeah.
But I mean,
are they still married?
It wasn't an accident though, really, because I went to go see Sophie, the daughter's fashion line when I was in LA. So of course she would be there.
Yeah,
but no, I don't think I've ever seen anyone just randomly walk
really,
around.
man.
I saw Ron Jeremy on Sunset, but
I saw him.
I used to brag about that until I found out he was such a disgusting sicko pig,
I saw him wait. I was getting my car serviced, and he was sitting on the couch right across the little waiting lounge from me. And I'm like, and I literally am like, who is? I've seen that guy. Who is that dude? And I'm thinking
dick.
And I'm looking at him going was that guy on was he on the Laugh-In? No, wait, he's not old enough for the Laugh-In. What was he on? Was he on? I'm going through in my head. Was he one of those? Yeah. Was he in Up in Smoke? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, it's Ron Jeremy, and he really looks weird.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, these things happen.
Kind of
gross
in Hollywood, yeah.
I got to think Ron Jeremy's had some moments in his life that were just downright disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying. I mean, not to a level that the average person does. He's in a whole league of his own. We did ask on the KQRS Facebook page what gross thing your partner does, and we do have some pretty good. We do have some funny answers. Sarah wrote, cleans the toilet, but not the drain part. I've spent a few days cleaning and have had to scrub all 3 toilets.
Well, I mean, you're in there, you're cleaning that disgusting bowl anyway. Just get the brush in there and give it a good back and forth, Give it a couple of spins. Why are you not going down there?
I like this one. Eric wrote, KQ out here trying to cause breakups. That being said, my wife is amazing and perfect in almost every way possible. She does nothing gross, and she doesn't annoy me in any way, except she bites her nails and eats ice like a velociraptor. How do you say that word? Velociraptor.
Oh, off to the couch with you, sir.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Nice
Rosemary Gorman's a big fan of ice, and she determines what, she's got a rating scale for ice.
Yeah.
Like the different types of chewy nugget ice, different restaurants have better ice than other restaurants. I mean, it's all about the it's
called a one-a-day vitamin. She's iron deficient.
Is that what it is?
We did that story like a couple of years ago. That if you because I like to eat ice, I just like to crunch on ice all the time. It turns out when I was growing up on the farm, we were poor and we just didn't have any treats. So if you want, in the summer, you came in out of the field throwing bales, and there was ice to chew on. But so we got to the bottom of it, and it turns out a lot of people that like to eat ice as a habit tend to be iron deficient.
I had a roommate who ate ice like a dinosaur. It was just loud, and it was all day long. And I read at the time that with men, that was a sign that they were sexually frustrated. And trust me, that checked out. I was like, oh, my God, that makes all the sense in the world.
You're seeing a lot of ice crunching around the office.
He was going through like the big gulps like there was no tomorrow.
Here's Christina on the KQ Facebook post. What does your partner do that grosses you out? My ex never shook his willy enough after he peed. Yellow spots in front of the toilet. Yeah, you got to, what is it? Shake it more than twice you're playing with it. But yeah, you got to give her a shake.
Yeah, it's and by the way, the older you are, the longer the shake. Just word to the wise.
Oh, well, it just never really stops dripping.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a constant trip.
The things we didn't take advantage of when we could have.
Yeah, uses the same paper towel to blow his nose 3 or 4 times before finally getting a new one. Well, if he's using a paper towel, you can kind of work your way around. Lets the dog lick his bare feet. Well, I mean, it's your foot. It's the dog. Kind of sounds nice, doesn't it? I'm too ticklish.
Yeah, I got a real. I'm good with feet, but the first couple minutes, it's got to go slow, and I've got to be relaxed. I mean, if someone just touches my foot without me knowing it's coming, I'm hitting the ceiling.
What?
Yeah, I'm very sensitive feet.
You're sensitive?
I'm very sensitive, Candace.
Ah, we know your weakness.
I'm very sensitive to touches of the feet, and I'm what they used to call in the old days a pussyfoot. Because to take 3 steps on gravel and bare feet is you might as well just shoot me in the foot.
I grew up on a farm. I don't think we had shoes in the summer. I think they were confiscated. No, we just never put them on. And you'd go running across the gravel, walking around fields, the whole thing, and stepping on nails. But now, exactly. I don't live on the farm. I don't run around barefoot anymore. I'll go out to get the mail on just like the driveway, just a regular driveway. And if there's a tiny little pebble like the princess I am, I'm like, son of a, oh man, where are my flip-flops?
Oh, so you outgrew the tough feet. I thought if you just had that childhood, it was there for life.
No.
Yeah, no. It's if I could change anything about myself, honestly, it might be that I hate being such a tenderfoot.
That's the thing you would change, Steve Gorman.
Nothing else.
We're going to give you a chance to change anything that you want about yourself. Well, my tender feet. I'd like to. That's what you're going with.
Just once, I want to walk outside and walk across the street and do stuff like a man without wondering where my slippers are.
All right. Okay.
Hey, I mean, like I was just gonna say, I go out to the beach, man, when that sand is really hot. It's just like other people are walking with no problem, and I'm like, it's nuts. I hate it about myself. There's a beach in Florida called Rosemary Beach, and my wife Rosemary and I, in fact, we were just there on our break a couple weeks ago. We've been there many times because it's a douche due south, straight shot from Nashville, 6 hours. Just boom, go down. And then, so when you live in Nashville, Tennessee, the panhandle of Florida and even Alabama has great beaches right there. That's where you go. And on the way to Rosemary Beach, shortly before arrival, you cross through a town near the Alabama-Florida line called Defuniak Springs. And the first time I ever drove through there, I was like, Defuniak Springs, what a name.
Yeah.
And it's oftentimes the way it just times out. That's where I've stopped at least 10 times in my life for a tank of gas. Just Defuniak Springs, there's that one gas station. I always go to the same place, boom. And if you said, is Defuniak Springs the kind of town where you think people would try to get over on the lottery commission? Like a couple of tweakers would think they could fool $1 million Powerball ticket? I'd say yes. That's exactly where that would happen. And that's exactly where it did happen. A couple has been charged by allegedly creating a fake lottery ticket. They taped together parts of 2 lottery tickets and went in and said, we won $1 million. Here's our ticket.
I thought you were going with some sophisticated scheme. They got themselves a 3D printer and hacked into it. No, they got the Scotch tape out.
Not only taped, but according to lottery officials, the word was crudely taped together. They had an individual that thought they could crudely take 2 tickets and put them together and pretend as if they're $1 million winner. The sheriff of Escambia County said in the news. And I mean, when I saw that story, I went, "Oh, it's Defuniak Springs. That totally checks out. It just looks like that kind of town." And then the 2 people, of course, were arrested and like pled their innocence. And they said, "No, we're not the kind of people who would do fraud. This is crazy. We had no idea this could possibly happen."
There's Scotch tape on it, dummies.
Yeah, Scotch tape.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Can I be a little impressed that they only had to use 2 tickets? If I had to tape together my lottery tickets for a winning, there'd be 6 of them taped together, Maybe more than that. I don't know. How many number you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Yeah. I need, of course, not. This was a 1 million. This wasn't a mega or a Powerball. Right. I don't know how this one worked. But, yeah, F for effort, I guess, on a deal like that.
Yeah, the woman in this thing, she tried to bring the ticket into the Florida lottery office in Pensacola.
Okay.
Officials said it's a non-winner, and then they said they asked her to sign a form acknowledging there could be a legal consequence if she had tampered with it, and she said, "Sure, I'll sign it."
Well, I mean, if you're going to be that stupid in the first place, I mean,
and then
the affidavit. Stop being stupid? The answer is never.
What they said was they did tape it back together, but it's 2 pieces of the same ticket. It had been ripped accidentally, and the woman said, "What do you mean they don't go together? We're honest people. We're not into fraud." We're not into fraud. Famous last words.
Yeah, we're not into fraud. I like when you'd have that old, back when you were broke and every dollar counted, you'd have a dollar that would tear. And you'd be like, "Oh, I'm getting out the Scotch tape. This is still legal tender."
Absolutely.
But that's all they did with the lottery ticket. Just simply tore, and we're not into fraud. That's not our jam, man.
I tore a check once that I thought was junk mail, and I just ripped an envelope right in half because, God forbid, you put the whole envelope of junk mail in the trash can. You got to tear it in half first. Yeah. And I just going through crap, didn't even recognize it. And then this is years ago, but I remember Rosemary said, "Hey, did a check ever come in?" It was like an insurance refund for some dental stuff, and I was like, "I don't think so." And she just looked at me, and as soon as she said that, I was like, "Oh, I think the return did say something about." And I go to I fished it out of the trash can, and there it is, a check for like $400 for a root canal reimbursement from insurance or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yo, you gotta be kidding me!" And I checked the mail ever since. I open every piece of junk mail now. That's years ago, and I'm still obsessed with not ripping a check in half.
Coincidentally, 2 weeks ago, I put a deposit down on something that I didn't end up buying. It kind of fell through, but it was a $300 deposit electronically. Didn't end up getting it. They're like, "We'll refund your deposit. What's your address?" I'm like, "Really? We're not going to do this electronically? You're going to old school it to me?" And this was a couple of months ago. So I'm like, "Well, of course, here's my address. Send me the check for $300. And a couple of months goes by. It's 2 weeks ago. We get so much junk mail, and when it's the plain envelope, you're like, "Well, I better open this up. I hope I didn't screw screw up something, must be important. It's not labeled. Hey, how would you like to extend your line of credit? Oh, geez. Extended warranty on your vehicle. Throw it away. I get in the habit of there's nothing in the mail anymore. I pay all my bills online. Every one of them, 100%. I just rip them in half, as you're supposed to do. Sometimes in 3 and throw it in. I ripped up the damn $300 check. And it was like, did you check this? Weren't you expecting a check? And I was like, oh, no. What are the odds? Oh, that's it. So I had to call and have them reissue it. It's on the way. And now I'm opening up all my junk mail again. Well, let's move along to something fun. No, not fun. The opposite of fun facts. Horrifying, unfun facts coming your way at 8 o'clock. And, of course, if your partner does something gross, share it with us. Get it off your chest. 651-989-ROCK and hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Tuesday, April 23rd. If you go to the KQRS Facebook page, if you scroll down, yesterday morning, our buddy Tony Lee posted on there a little update. He wrote, so I've been missing in action. It wasn't jail this time. There was no UFO abduction, sigh, if only. I had a health issue that dared to sneak up and sucker punch me, but it turns out I'm kind of a tough rascal. Who knew? I can't wait to crack up, share stories, play and be a silly juvenile otter with all of us. And then he goes on to say, life is precious. I'm so grateful and fortunate to have you guys in mind, meaning his listening family. I love you all to pieces. Be back soon, you filthy animals. If you go to the page, I'm sure it would be lovely for Tony to see a comment. There's well over 100 comments from listeners, and it does mean the world to Tony and to us. He will be back soon, and we can't wait for that to happen. Boy. Man, you think you're sick of a guy, and then you don't see him for a couple of weeks, and then you can't live without him.
Yeah, right.
Go figure.
A lot of comments on here. I'm going to put one on right now.
There you go.
Are you getting paid while you're gone?
That's it.
I'd like to know. I'm not feeling good myself.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah,
Feel better, Tony. Yeah, a lot of fantastic comments on there. A lot of them. Most of them are nice.
As far as I can tell, all nice. Guy's got a sterling reputation. Who knew?
Something about $20 he owes a guy once paid now, but otherwise, pretty positive.
There's always a collector out there. There's
and one
always
or two
somebody.
people on here concerned about Gigi's diarrhea, hoping she's going to
that's so sweet.
get well soon. Yeah.
Chauncey Gorman had a little bout himself not that long ago, Candace. In fact, we were tending to his needs with diarrhea when he ran out and got run over by a bus. So it was a double whammy. Oh. We were already planning to take him to the vet to get him checked out, and then he put his paw out under a bus tire. So at least we already had the vet waiting for him. He's good like that. Just a little powdered acidophilus. You can buy it at the pet store and put it in his food. But within one day, man, that diarrhea is gone. Boom.
Yeah, I felt bad for her. She was having a tough time sleeping because of it.
Oof, sure.
We'll see how it is, and I get home. Hopefully, it's all gone.
Yeah, such a white dog too. I mean, it must show.
No, it doesn't take much to figure out what's happening. Yeah, the slightest little bit, and you're seeing it. It just pops. It's like a New Year's Eve party, 1985. I think I was there, and a girl named Robbie was dancing in a chair, and she was wearing a white dress, and she fell drunkenly straight onto her face, and she stood up with a bloody nose, and she bled like crazy. And my brother's comment was, "Oh, Robbie, you look great in red." It's kind of how that goes. A lot of things that we come across in a day around here, and we're immediately we rue having learned these things. There's facts and there's all sorts of information that just flashes in front of us, and you think to yourself, I was better off not knowing that. And with that in mind, we of course need to share some of these with you guys, because let's all share the misery together, shall we? Mm-hmm. How about this? The National Football League, for 1 year supply of footballs, takes about 3,000 head of cattle, 3,000 cows to make all the footballs for one NFL season.
It's not like they're throwing out the rest. The cows are
That's very true.
going onto our grill anyway. Let's
stupid
use
question.
It all.
Stupid
Sure.
question.
Mhm.
Is the kind of cow that's good for leather? Is there a breed of cow that but it cannot produce milk? It's the meat tastes terrible. I mean, there's different cows for different reasons.
Yeah.
Is a leathering cow a specific type of cow? I know nothing about these things.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked. I grew up on a cattle ranch, and Steve, I have no idea. I don't know. A cow's a cow. And so you have dairy cattle, and then you have beef cattle, and that's about as far as my knowledge goes. I would think the hide off an old Holstein might be just as good as a Angus wrap.
Why do they call it a pigskin then?
Because it used to be made out of pigskin.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but they
Great question.
I read it years ago. For some reason, they switched over to cowhide because the pigskin balls tended to be more round, a bit more inflatable. I feel like I'm making this up now. Like I might have just, been making it up at a bar, and now I've just absorbed it into one of those things I think I know.
All I know is this. With the old ABA basketball, the red, white, and blue ball that was so cool looking.
Yeah,
What if the
76.
NFL went from the pigskin to the zebra skin? How cool would that look?
That would be really freaking cool.
Rock the zebra ball. Come on.
Is their skin actually black and white, however?
I don't know.
Just
Just take a regular football and dye it black and white and call it a zebra ball.
I'm going to dye you black and white.
And then if the referee picks it up, the ball disappears. Camouflage. Or camouflage. Camel footballs. We could keep going. How about this one? You have more than likely, this is another one of these fun facts that's not so fun.
Yeah.
And for the record, this number is really low when you think about high school sports. You've more than likely shaken hands with at least 6 or more men that haven't washed their hands since their most recent masturbation. High school sports, after every game, good game, good game, good game, good game. Half those guys were getting something taken care of right before tip-off.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't much. I mean, I probably went straight from masturbating to eating a Jimmy John's sub. Sorry for brand naming there. I probably shouldn't have done that. Eating just a Subway sandwich. Yeah. Back in the days, we just didn't care. That's why we had such hardy immune systems. We're too clean now.
Anybody who's raised a teenage son knows that there's that moment early in the teen years, if it takes that long, where all of a sudden their door's just always shut. And and Rosemary said to me, she's like, "Wait, are we at that place?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'm sure that's what's happening." And she was like, "Is it really what was that like for you at that age? Is it really bad?" And I'm like, "There's no way to even begin. This is not a conversation I'm willing to have in my late 50s. It's like no, the 7th, 8th, 9th grade." Experience is just one of nonstop, over the top, completely inappropriate, wildly uncontrollable urges.
Wildly uncontrollable.
Awful.
Yeah, it's
terrible.
primordial. It's biological. All right, here's ladies. Think about it like this: itch right between the shoulder blades. How about that one on the bottom of the foot when you have socks and shoes on? And you're walking along, and you have to stop. Drop, pull the shoe and the sock off. Just itch the bottom of your foot. It's the same kind of thing. It has to be satisfied before you can just move on with the next one. Sometimes it has to be satisfied frequently. Yeah,
you're sitting in class and you look over and you're like, I've never noticed Laura's forearm before.
Oh my God!
Oh, it's nonstop.
I remember noticing that the girls were wearing short socks. This was a thing, and all of a sudden they were sitting down and their pants were up, and I could see 3 inches of skin between the top of their sock and the bottom of their jeans, and that's all it took. That was enough.
Oh sure.
Yeah, skin.
Yeah, boy, it's the absolute worst. Speaking of skin, if you've ever used bleach without gloves, first of all, what the hell were you thinking?
Yeah, don't do that.
But it does happen occasionally, and then sometimes people notice that there's kind of slimy. That's not the bleach. It melts your skin, and bleach melted skin is very slimy.
Yeah, I suppose if you need to exfoliate, but probably not good getting into the pores. Yeah, you don't want the bleach.
How about this one? I've never heard this until today. Mummies were not really all that rare. Mummified remains stayed around in various cultures, but in the Victorian British era, Victorian Brits, the royal and social elite, thought there was medicinal properties in ground up mummies. And so the royals and the social elite ground up all the mummies they could find and sprinkled them on their meals for medicine.
You've ruined a good thing. Now we've got to get rid of the mummies, you kooks. Stick with the leeches. That's what works.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know. There's something about that mummy that I think, I guess I could do some of this sliced ginger, but I feel that mummy remains would be better for me.
Sounds Freudian almost. Just the word mummy, mums in England, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
consuming. Yeah, no, all right.
Mummy?
Just making it weirder.
Do you think you'd like to eat your ground up mummy? And then finally, here's another one. Speaking of washing your hands, we were already talking about Gigi. It's not that big of a stretch. Fecal matter can seep through very easily 10 layers of toilet paper.
What? I mean,
so here's the deal.
Like that really, even the double ply?
Yeah, don't get up and do the quick waft over sniff and go, no, I'm clean. Wash your hands every time.
Oh, yeah.
Wash
that's
the
key.
hands.
Yeah, with bleach.
Wash the hands with bleach. That's exactly right.
Any of these things we've talked about this morning, wash your hands with bleach. You're snorting some mummy remains, wash your hands.
I'm sure you've heard of microplastics. They're everywhere. They're in everything. They're all but in the air we breathe. Scientists believe, there are scientists who have said the average person ingests 5 grams of microplastics every week. That's about what a credit card weighs. That much plastic you're eating every week.
I mean, and that's bad for you, right?
Apparently that's bad for you.
I mean, I just got into a conversation yesterday when I realized I thought fairly expensive water filter, again, not going to the brand name here, but a pretty good, well-known water filter was not at all PFAS. Are we just calling them, are we trying to pronounce it PFAS?
I don't know.
But they're showing up in water. We hear there's like 7 suburbs here in Minnesota that the PFAS, and that would be the plastics in there. There's too much showing up in the water. We've overdone it with the plastics. We've got islands the size of states out there floating around in the ocean. And I'm not saying we as in America, the world as a whole, but I found out that my water filter was not filtering out anything. And in fact, all it was doing was changing the odor of the water. It was making it smell better and taste a bit better. And then I had to buy something much more expensive to keep the plastic out of it. And that's a thing with me now. I don't want to eat out of plastic. I don't want to heat my leftovers in the styrofoam. And I don't want to be consuming plastic, I guess. This is my late stab at doing something healthy before I cack. But so I guess,
he took that turn. It's funny. He's in his mid-50s and he got rid of plastics. And the guy's 6'7" now. It's the weirdest thing.
God, did you see the skin tone? It looks fantastic. I mean, the guy's got some pep in his step.
Dude grew 7 inches in his late 50s. It was phenomenal, man. His vertical leap is like 50
it sounds
inches.
bad, doesn't it? Plastics and cancer rates and the whole thing. Here I go. Where's the rocker? Put me out on the porch. Put a blanket over my legs.
The National Library of Medicine, National Center for Biotechnology Information reports it is estimated there are as many as 684 per day. What happens 684 times per day in America? A death due to medical error.
Ooh, really? That many?
That's
in one
quarter
day?
of a million a year.
What do you guys do? Well, it's...
Yeah.
I know someone that's been a nurse for a very long time, and I said something about, this doctor kind of gave me some kooky advice. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to get a second opinion, which is something people say you should always do, but I've never done.
Yeah.
You feel kind of weird about it, like you're cheating on someone in a relationship. But I said, I think I'm going to get a second opinion. She said, you pass, once you go through medical school, not everyone with straight A's gets to be a doctor. There are C students, too.
They graduate just the same.
Yeah, they get the same diploma. They hang it right up there on the wall. And so, it sounds like there's a lot of below average work. I screwed up a piece of audio earlier this morning. No one died. It wasn't a big deal. I'm not a doctor. What the hell's going on?
This is a rough one, too. And this doesn't really, if you happen to be one of those medical fatalities and then you accidentally get dropped in deep water, your family has 4 days to recover your body, or it will be mummified because, it will be skeletonized in less than 4 days because the amphipods in deep water, it's like, imagine piranhas. They're like these little weird crustacean things, but any body submerged in deep water, they're picking everything but the bones in 4 days or less.
All right. I kind of want that. That's how I want to be, I don't know, laid to rest then.
Yeah.
But then I want to be pulled back up with the barnacles all over me and put me in a shallow pond in the backyard.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You've got a whole plan. This is great.
It's just coming together.
Fir trees have been found growing inside human lungs.
What?
Yes. If someone inhales the seed of a fir tree, it can and has sprouted and begun to grow in the lung.
I mean, are they really tiny little seeds?
Yes.
You get any little particle down there. Okay, all right. So it gets in there, and then you grow a little Christmas tree in your lungs.
I was going to say, you're just feeling holly jolly all year long. All right, here's a real one. And again, this doesn't apply to your life because you'll be gone, but still, not really the kind of thing you love reading. If you are, in fact, murdered in the United States of America, there's a 1 in 3 chance police will never identify your killer.
Oh,
how about that?
That is frightening when you think about it. I mean, of course, we're encouraging people. I have like a 33% chance of getting away with this. I'm going to have to rethink it. But, yeah, we did something on crime statistics one time, and it was shocking how many everyone that robs a bank gets caught, right? Every once in a while, someone might get away with it. No,
Yeah.
I found out that like 70% of bank robberies go unprosecuted.
It's incredible.
Yeah, right. And now 1 in 3 murder, or what did you say, 1 in 3, right?
1 in
Don't
3
get solved?
Yeah. It's a 2/3 clearance rate is really good. If your local PD is solving 2/3 of the murders, they're like, hey, nice job there, fellas.
Well, luckily I don't have I'm not a follow through kind of guy because I have the anger, I have the temper. Probably want to kill someone, but I'm a procrastinator. I don't follow through. So.
Well, that's when a weakness becomes a strength, right there. The former chief of the FBI's elite serial crime unit, John Douglas, in 2015 said that the FBI very conservatively estimates that there are between 25 and 50 active serial killers in the United States. This is smartphone era, and they're still getting away with it, which is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, you've walked past. I've told my daughters this, that chances are we've all walked past a serial killer or had some sort of interaction, whether it be, oh, excuse me, or hey, can I do whatever, some sort of interaction, a brush with, a psycho killer. Probably they're still out there and active. How many did you say?
Between 25 and 50 active at any time in the States.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And this is my daughter, Sid, the kid, comes up to me years ago, and she goes, Dad, you know what? I think I've just got a little wanderlust. I want to get out there. I've graduated from college. I love the Rockies. She went to school in Colorado. And I think I'm just going to get a van, convert it, and just travel the Rockies for a while. I think I'll start in Utah. Stop right there.
Yeah.
I let you live your life. You're out on your own. You're not legally bound to listen to me anymore, but I will I'll bind you. I mean, I'll do whatever I have to do. I'll flatten all those tires. I'll blow up the van. I'll do whatever. You are not, as a 18-year-old woman, going to travel by yourself in a van through frickin' Utah or the Rockies. I mean, you know how many serial killers came out of Utah? I mean, how many bodies there are just unfound out there? And
yeah, man.
Yeah, no, not cool. And then I had to bribe her with something else. I'm like, hey, what if I get you a really nice place next to this park with this other family from Wisconsin I know? And yeah, that was terrifying to think about. I wouldn't have had one decent night's sleep knowing that she was, and then she's like, and then I'm just going to drive to Alaska. I'm like, all right, stop it. You're just trying to freak me out, and I don't like it.
Here's the last one I'm going to share with you. If you, like any other crazy person on earth, decides, yep, you know what? I need to summit Mount Everest. I'm going to do it. It's the ultimate test. It's the ultimate test of strength and skill and endurance and resilience. I want to go. Just know that since the early 1920s, over 330 climbers have died on Mount Everest. And also know this, over 200 of those bodies are still there.
Oh, yeah.
If you summit Everest, you walk past dozens of dead bodies. And because of the temperature, they're still just completely intact. They're not buried. There's no way to get them off. People have died trying to retrieve other people's dead bodies. So they're just there. You're going to go by as many as 200 dead bodies. And, of course, the reminder, as always, every one of those corpses was the most highly motivated person in their friend group.
Right.
You want to talk about type A personalities, I can show you where 200 of them are dead.
A type A graveyard up there. I'm thinking about heading down to Red Wing this summer and climbing the barn. I might walk up there for a good view. It's about as far as I'm going to take it. Hey, it's game show time, boys and girls. We need a couple of callers on the talk and text line, 651-989-ROCK. Yes or BS. We're going with some really, really weird food facts this morning. These are pretty much just pick'ems, but we'll need a couple for Joe Satriani and Steve Vai. Look out, lead guitarist. Tomorrow at the State Theater, prize provided by Outback Presents. Our runner-up today, a trilogy tribute to, hold your breath, Candace, The Doors, Led Zeppelin, and Pink Floyd. All of it together Saturday at the Medina. Thank you to the Medina Entertainment Center for those tickets. 651-989-ROCK. Dial up. Good luck. And hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, April the 23rd. Tomorrow night, Joe Satriani and Steve Vai at the State Theater. That's going to be a show with a lot of notes, a lot of guitar playing, a lot of great music. That's a couple of top shelf guitarists right there. Satriani and Vai ripping at the State Theater, and we would love to send a listener to see that show. Runner-up prize today, Trilogy, a tribute to Candace's Doors, Candace's Led Zeppelin, and Candace's Pink Floyd. You love all three of those bands. Hell yeah, you do. So we're going to play a game called Yes or BS. And we have two contestants ready to roll. Candace, who is caller/contestant number one?
Jeff from Richfield.
Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, all. Say, Brian, last time I called in, you said, is this Blow Steve Day? And I forgot to mention how great you and Candace and Tony are. You're just as good as Steve. I'm just a big fanboy of Steve.
No, did I actually say that?
You said that, yeah, because you had a guest on. I think he was a comedian, and
it just doesn't sound like something I'd say.
And then I came on, and I repeated how much of a great percussionist I think Steve is.
Yeah.
And then you said, "Oh, it's Blow Steve Day." So I'm not going to blow Steve today. I'm going to blow you, Candace, and Tony instead.
I'm blushing right now. I don't know about anyone else, but thanks, Jeff. I'll appreciate it wherever I can get it. And I think, but tomorrow, by the way, is National Blow Steve Day. If you want to call back in for that, it should be awfully exciting. All right, well, pucker up, Pally. We're playing Yes or BS this morning.
Wow,
I feel like I've been listening to quite a bit of BS already. I've met my match with Jeff here. All right, brother. You ready to go? You know how we do Yes or BS, right?
I do, yes.
All right, we'll give you a statement. You tell me yes or BS. We're just going with weird food trivia. You're getting a lot of, in your 5 questions here today, a lot of, I guess, well, let's just dive right in here. Sorry. Can you tell I'm still getting it ready to go here? All right. Jeff, chitlins are a type of green leafy vegetable. Yes or BS?
BS.
Yeah, chitterlings. Fried pig intestines.
Correct.
Yeah. Eat your fried pig intestines. Or you don't get to go out and play. All right. You're on the board. 1 for 1, Jeff. Here we go. Rocky Mountain oysters are a type of freshwater clam.
No, they're not.
No, not even seafood. They are the balls of bulls, sheep, or male pigs.
God.
Yeah. Rocky Mountain oysters, where I came from, that was beef cattle. You know, when we did the castrating right there in the spring, before we just feed, we had a dog, Cody, was half a German Shepherd and half Collie, and we'd maybe 200, probably wouldn't have been that many bulls that we turned into steers, but probably maybe like 100 each time we did it. He'd eat every damn one of those things.
I tell you, those memories of spring, the pollen comes in, the flowers bloom, and there's just balls flying around everywhere you look. Nothing like the spring castration season.
Some Rocky Mountain oysters, keg of beer, little queso with that.
I mean, I always did wonder where all the balls went. What do they do with all the balls? For everybody.
Eat them.
Yeah, they're on menus all throughout the Rocky Mountains.
All right. Look at Jeff, 2 for 2 here, yeah?
I was going to say, Candace, seriously, if you see the word oyster in Colorado, don't eat it.
Or do. Come on, live it up a little bit. How about Koolikles? Would you eat Koolikles? Koolikles, Jeff, are pickles soaked in Kool-Aid. Yes or BS?
I mean, anything's possible, but I'm going to go BS.
No, they are actually red Kool-Aid, usually popular in the South down there. Koolikles.
Hold on, I've never even heard of that.
Well,
I haven't
Google
either.
it.
Wow.
Oh, don't! Now you're agreeing with Steve again. Come on, it's Jeff. You agree with me. It's time to
blow Zep.
blow Brian.
I
Blows up.
I agree with all of you. So,
He's a team
All
player.
right, 2 for 3, Jeff. Here we go. Burgoo. Burgoo is a type of stew you can make with basically any kind of meat.
I believe that is true.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. We called it roadkill soup out in South Dakota.
Yeah.
Very popular in Kentucky and Illinois.
I was going to say, you get Appalachian burgoo, man. You can set yourself free if you get the right spot.
Amen. All right. Well, now you're 3 for 4. Not bad. One more here for you, Jeffrey. Let me get a goudak. A goudak is a type of ice cream made with fish.
Wow. I don't think they're going together at all, but I'll say not a food type.
No, it is. It's called Alaskan ice cream, Eskimo ice cream, which probably isn't politically correct to say anymore. A goudak, it's made with things like whipped fat, dried fish, moose, and caribou meat. 1 scoop for me, please.
No, thank you.
A little goudak,
Well,
would you
I
like?
learned 2 things today, so thank you.
You're welcome, Jeff. Hey, 3 for 5, not bad. This is just a lot of guessing here this morning, I think. All right, Jeff, hang tight, buddy.
Candace,
thank you.
Candace, who is caller number 2?
Jeff again, but a different Jeff from
You're
Maple.
messing with me.
From Maple Grove.
All right, Jeff again from Maple Grove. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How you feeling?
Pretty good.
Good. You ready to play yes or BS?
I think so.
I like it.
Yeah, he's not blowing anyone this morning. Right down to business. Here we go. All right, Jeff 2. The word pizza has been around for over 1,000 years. Yes or BS?
Yes.
Yeah, the first documented use of the word pizza was in 997.
Wow.
In Italy.
That checks out.
Hell yeah.
There you go. All right, 1 for 1. Jeff, the average American eats more than 500 eggs a year. The average American, 500 eggs a year. Yes or BS?
BS.
That's right, it is. A report last year found the real number, about 279 eggs a year. All right, Jeff, if you remove enough oxygen from peanut butter and put it under intense pressure, you can make diamonds out of peanut butter.
That sounds like BS.
But in fact, it is true. It requires a lab. It's technically possible because peanut butter contains so much carbon.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
Gives new meaning to the term crap and diamonds, I can tell you that.
It certainly does.
Is that a term? I don't know. I might have just made it up.
And
2
I've
for
been
3.
eating all that peanut butter on toast all these years.
Yeah, it should be. Got to get a lot of pressure. You need a lab. I don't know, Candace, you deal with constipation a lot. Maybe you could make a diamond out of peanut butter right there in your lower intestine. All right, Jeff, you're 2 out of 3. That's very much in this game. In the early 1800s, ketchup was used as medicine. Yes or BS?
I'm going to go with yes.
Yeah, a doctor in Ohio sold ketchup pills, claiming it could cure diarrhea and indigestion.
Man.
All right.
I like it.
Didn't say it was a valid medicine. All right, 3 for 4. This would be for the win and or the tie, rather. Mm-hmm. The average ear of corn has 16 rows of kernels. Jeff, yes or BS?
I'm going to go with yes.
We have a winner. Almost all corn cobs have an even number of rows, not odd. It's because how each row splits and doubles as the corn grows. You know that out here in Minnesota, don't you? 16 rows of kernels. That's 4 for 5. Jeff, 2, the big winner this morning.
Man, Jeff from Maple Grove over Jeff Richfield in a fantastic game of Yes or BS. Jeff Richfield, you are not leaving empty-handed, my friend. Tribute to the Doors, Led Zeppelin, and Pink Floyd Saturday at Medina Entertainment Center. Thank you for playing, brother.
Thanks. Have a nice day, everyone.
You got it. Jeff from Maple Grove, my man, you've got Satriani and Vi tickets for tomorrow at the State Theater. Rock on. You will have a blast. Thanks for playing.
Hey, Steve, you're the master of trivia. One of those guys taught the other one how to play guitar. Do you know which was which?
I don't know which was which. I'm trying to think. Wait, which guy's older? But I would say Vi taught Satriani, but that's probably wrong.
I actually don't remember. I was wondering if you remember.
Well, let's see. Steve Vai is 63.
Luckily, that wasn't the tiebreaker.
Oh, Satriani's 67. It's probably Satriani over Vi. Wow. Okay, fair enough. We'll see. Thank you, though. Good job playing. Enjoy the show.
Love the show, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you.
They'll be teaching each other some hot licks tomorrow night, I'm sure. Actually,
yeah, no kidding. It's just going to be one they're just going to ping pong back and forth. Wonder if they can play together, because I've seen them both in concert several times, and they're just whirling dervishes on the six stringer. They're just gone. Yeah. I wonder if they could play together, note for note.
For a little while, and then it's like it's just at some point, man, those horses are going to have to run on their own track.
Yeah, right. What a show!
You can only keep them going for so long. Here's a quick question. You were talking about some, yes or BS. Yeah. There's a recent thing where people are discussing on social media the fact that they say it's a good idea to wash shredded cheese before eating it.
Yeah, I heard of this. Isn't that ridiculous?
What?
Well, here's a lady talking about it. She went viral with, should you be washing your shredded cheese?
We're going to wash the shredded cheese. Let's make it taste better. Washing something off of there.
Huh? It's cloudy coming off of there.
All right. Yeah.
Look at the difference.
You can see the difference. Look at that. You can actually feel.
Something about that accent just not selling it for me. But if you were to watch the video, you'd see her straining the cheese through a colander there, and the water coming out is kind of milky looking, and they contend that there's some sort of, I don't know, why is that, Steve?
There's certain words that you should never say next to each other. Limp biscuit is one of those examples, and another one is wet cheese. Just don't wet cheese. Think about it, wet cheese. Isn't that gross?
Yeah.
That sounds like the ultimate insult. That person is about as interesting as wet cheese.
It is. You're just a colander of wet shredded cheese, dude. Get over yourself.
Gross. Yeah. All right.
I love that. Look, there's stuff in the water. Yeah, it's called cheese.
Yeah,
there's cheese residue from the cheese.
Yeah, you're making it moist and clumpy and gross.
There is an anti-caking agent that you will see a little bit of dusty stuff that is on your packaged shredded cheese. Different companies have different things. For example, Kraft adds a little cornstarch. The point is it's an anti-caking. It keeps it from sticking and lumping together, right?
You don't want a big lump of shredded cheese.
So Kraft puts a little cornstarch in there. Tillamook uses potato starch. Sargento powdered cellulose, excuse me.
Yeah.
Lucerne uses tapioca and potato starch. It's just trust me, they know what they're doing, and you don't want your stuff all clumped because you want to have that quesadilla just lay flat and perfect. And so your shredded cheese has that little stuff on there for a reason. Washing it off is accomplishing nothing other than giving us something to laugh at.
Yeah, you're just being ridiculous. I mean, go buy yourself a block of shredded cheese, because they're not going to put the cornstarch on that. It's already clumped together, and then shred it yourself if you're worried about that. But do not, rinse your cheese. Enough is enough. I was in a relationship with someone that washed every leaf of her salad individually with a paper towel.
Oh, God.
And so to get ready for dinner, I might whip together some spaghetti. Any dumbski can do that, right? Mm-hmm. I'm getting the spaghetti all ready to go, and all she has to do is dump the salad bag in. You want to rinse it? Yeah, rinse it off. I don't know what process that went through to get into the bag. Please, but leaf by leaf with a paper towel?
Nuts.
A half hour later, I'm already through one plate of spaghetti. She's still, I'm like, all right, this is mental illness.
On one of my many lost weekends, stuck at a Bed Bath & Beyond because I couldn't leave. Literally, just pull up a U-Haul truck. I need everything in the store. I used to go to Bed Bath & Beyond and just and fall into a BBB coma. I couldn't get out.
Yeah.
I did buy a salad spinner one time, for like $9. But it's, you know what that is? It's just you got like a big plastic bowl, and then there's like a colander that sits inside it, and you just put all of your greens in that thing inside it. Add some more. You rinse your greens, put them in there, and then you have a lid. And when you place the lid on there, it's got a little pump, and the colander inside the bowl spins really fast, and it throws all the moisture onto the wall of the bowl, centrifugal force. So you rinse all your lettuce, and then you pump that thing. It spins really fast, and then you hit the button to stop it, and then your lettuce is not wet, but it's damp, and it's been rinsed, and it's not soaking wet. You don't have to paper towel dry it. Again, the thing costs like $10. I made salad for like 14 straight days because I was so excited by this thing.
And then
you would have thought it was like discovering water displacement eureka. Like medical journals will praise me for this. Rosemary was like, "Babe, we don't need another salad." I'm like, I'm gonna do spinach. So I'm gonna spin the spinach now. I thought that was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. I'm the same guy who the first time I saw a fax machine just stared at it for like an hour. And by the way, it was like 1988. Years after they had
into the fax era, almost out of the I guess the fax era lasted well into the 90s.
We were on the tail end though, and but I'd never seen one, and I literally would stare at that thing like, I can't believe the future. It's amazing. This piece of paper went into a machine in Colorado, and it's coming out here. Holy crap.
What a time we live in.
I'm telling you, man, it's fantastic. What happened to all the fax machines? They're just sitting around wishing somebody remembered them.
Yeah, boat anchors now or something, right? Repurposed. They're being repurposed into 3D printers coming to a living room, a den near you soon. The 3D printer. What did I see someone? Oh, I wanted a kickstand for my bike, which I know you're not supposed to do. You're a real grandpa if you want a kickstand for your bike. No one uses those anymore. But damn it, I wanted a kickstand for my bike, and they don't make them anymore. But there was some cat online making 3D brackets that you could fit on your bike. He said, I'll send it to you. You buy it from me for $35. I'll send it to you, and then you use your 3D printer to print it. I'm like, am I supposed to already have a 3D printer? So now I'm Googling 3D printers.
Kidding.
Can I buy a 3D printer? They are for sale. Still quite expensive. I'm not quite there yet. I guess I'm going to be leaning my bike or laying it down on the ground all summer. But it's happening out there right now.
More often than not, I'm happy to supply a dumb question. What happens if you don't have a kickstand? What do you use?
You just set your bike down. You lean it.
Really?
You lock it into place if you're, in town in the city. But if you're not, then you just, like you did when you were a kid, you just step off of it and let it drop, except it's a nice bike. And, I don't want the, handlebars to dig into the dirt. So I gently lay it down. Lay it, lean it. That kind of thing. Right, exactly.
Yeah, kicking it old school. All right.
You're so far removed from the bicycling thing when you were a kid that you don't even know the kickstands are out, do you?
No, I did. It's funny you say that because I do, now that I think about it, I do own a bicycle. I've had it since like the late 90s. And my nephew has it now. He basically co-opted it from me. And that doesn't have a kickstand. So I'm sitting here. I'm a guy who owns a bike without a kickstand, and I'm literally going, "What do you mean you don't have a kickstand?" Which tells you how much I've ridden that damn bike since I bought it.
Well, that's all right. Maybe you should donate it. Maybe you could recycle. In fact, I have an old bike that I was just looking at lots of places around Minneapolis where you can donate your old bike. I'm looking at a story this morning. Americans want to know how to recycle TVs, eclipse glasses, Candace, and some things in your house you can sell for parts for a little scratch. A little walking around money. We're going to get to all that here before 9 o'clock. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Tuesday, April the 23rd. Hey, that Jason Bonham show is tonight.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
yeah, that snuck up on me. Candace, are we going to go?
Let's go.
Rock?
I got the perfect outfit.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, that makes one of us.
Who's going to take care of Gigi? She's sick with diarrhea.
No, she'll be okay. She's probably feeling much better now.
In her time of need? Put a diaper on her.
In my time of diarrhea. That's a Zeppelin chestnut.
I wish I could bring Gigi. She loves rock and roll.
Listen, you can bring Gigi, okay? She fit in your purse. I mean, come on. It's not like Chauncey where you got to put him, you got to put him on your, you got to put him on your shoulder with a trench coat so it looks like you're 7 feet tall. No, Gigi just fits right in the purse.
Dress him up a little bit, put some Wayfarers on him and a nice fedora.
I saw a thing on Instagram yesterday. Rosemary sent it to me. And it's just cats, but they're wearing like people's clothes. I don't think it's real because they're all standing like humans. But it just shows very realistic photos of a cat dressed like in a 3-piece suit, dressed like a teddy boy from British 50s greaseback rockers.
I bet cats love that.
And I looked through every one of these pictures and I was like, I would kill if I would love if Milo would let us dress him in little cat clothes. I'd be so much more into cats if they wore human looking clothes.
Sure, yeah, like your own little Barbie or Ken doll, you know?
Exactly.
Get them all dressed up. I'm sure that's a good way to lose an eye to a cat claw.
That's exactly what that is. It'd be great. In between them marking the house and ruining it for resale, you could put them in all sorts of great, cute outfits.
No, I don't think cats would be down. But Gigi, she has a wardrobe. She's got a couple sweaters. She's got a Vikings jersey.
Does she now?
I know. That's fine for Gigi. She's a what? Again, what's her breed?
A Maltese.
A Maltese. Perfect. They should be. I think Maltese were probably bred to dress up.
Yes.
Look at those cute little buggers. Australian Shepherds, however, are badasses. They were literally bred in England some 500 years ago to go to the outback in Australia, not only survive, but thrive, herding sheep out in the middle of the desert and eating, crocodiles. And I have a daughter that thinks it's fun to dress them up. I'm like, no. There are breeds of dogs, German Shepherds. You don't dress them up unless you're putting a flak jacket on them because it's a canine unit or something like that. But, not an Australian Shepherd. That I won't allow it. I won't stand for it as his grandfather.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. I tried to put Chauncey in some clothes once, and he was just like, "Man, I will show you the strength of a boxer's jaw, boxer pity, whatever." He's a mix, but he's got some strong jaws.
No, maybe like a reflector vest if you're out walking him at night or something like that. For safety, but nothing cute, nothing Christmassy.
Oh, our dog as a kid, Rusty the Springer Spaniel, we'd put him in t-shirts, shorts, high tops on his back feet. He didn't care. He's the most chill. He's like, this looks good to you? Go for it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Orioles t-shirt, walking around the house. It's ridiculous. No respect. He's a bird dog. That dog was a better swimmer than me, man. The first time we got him, brought him home, we had only had him a few weeks, and we're on the golf course, and we walk up to the edge of the pond, and he just runs, and literally, the dog was 5 months old at tops, and he dove. He didn't just run into the water. He got airborne, hit the water, and just disappeared under it. And I was probably 7, and I literally went, "Oh no, Rusty's drowning!" I just thought he's dying. And that sucker popped up like 30 feet out and was just swimming around. He knew exactly what to do.
You could have taken him right out of mom and thrown him right into the lake, and he just would have done just fine. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's intuitive. We had labs, and they have those. Of course, we had labs in South Dakota. It was a little unfair. I didn't know then, but labs were made for Minnesota with all the lakes and the duck hunting and the fishing, and that tail is a rudder. You ever been hit in the leg by a lab tail? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But those dogs, it's fun. They're like otters in the water. That's an otter tail, by the way. Or do otters have lab tails? Regardless, it's awesome to see a lab do their thing in the water. They're at home.
Yeah, no question
Oily
about
hair.
It. Clementine, our greatest dog ever, the half lab, half Rottweiler. The first time she ever went swimming at a pond in a park, she was watching other dogs, and then she just was not sure what to do. And I was like, "Come on, go, girl!" And I threw the tennis ball out, and she would walk out, but she wouldn't go past where she could walk. She wouldn't just go swim. And then one day, and then the first time she did, I threw the ball out, and she was like, "Screw it!" She went out, and the water was deeper than she was tall, and she swam out, got that tennis ball, swam back to shore, ran up on shore, ran around in circles, and then she didn't know that she needed to clamp her hindquarter. the rear entrance, and she gave herself a Piedmont Park Atlanta Pond Enema, and boy, she sprayed like nothing you've ever seen. But then the lesson learned. It only took once.
Yeah.
And then she was then it was all lab when it came to water. But yeah, that first one was tough. I got to tell you. You mentioned a bunch of stuff that's sitting around the house that we might be able to sell for parts, Zep.
Yeah.
There's things that we all have sitting around, and you're thinking to yourself, well, somebody might want some of this crap. Here's some stuff.
Yeah.
Any old junk or vehicle you got, like down south, of course, that's just in your front yard. You don't have to look hard for it.
Yeah, it's an ornament.
Yeah, an old engine can still pick you up a few $100, $500. Airbags. People will buy old airbags from you. Couple $100 per airbag. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was, as a younger man, foolish. I would just throw everything out. I don't care what it was. Exercise bicycles, anything that people sell in garage sales. When I moved, I just put it on the pickup, drove it out to the dump there, and threw it in the dump. That's what the dump. So I'm not bothering to even give this stuff away. And I mean, old computers and stuff like this. Just a dimwit and filling up the landfills. Especially in Minnesota, I think there are many people that want your junk, and they'll repurpose it and fix it back up and sell it back to you. Probably for as much as you paid for it in the first place. But yeah, they're all over the place.
There's this is something I was unaware of. And boy, how many times in life did you wish you knew about this? There's this whole section on eBay that is dedicated to buying and selling game pieces and parts. Like
there is?
And it's eBay game pieces and parts. It's just like your old Monopoly game, and suddenly you're like, where's all my little guys? You can just go there and someone has those for sale. There's, Pokemon cards, but any little token from any little game you ever had. If need more, if you need to replace the little car and remember the game of life? You learn about life when you play the game of life.
That's how I learned everything I know about life. I do remember it. I remember there was one at Grandma's place, but I think that was one of those when you opened up the old broken box that was mashed flat. Yeah, most of it wasn't there.
Yeah, of course. And then you had the spinny wheel to see how many you'd go. And you have the little blue car, the pink car, and you got the little blue man and the pink man. You have babies, and you just drive around. Yeah, if you run out of those parts, you can go on this page on eBay. That's sensational. I'm not playing a lot of board games these days, but there was a time when that would have been very helpful.
We still do it when we go out to the farm. We have an entire huge, almost walk-in closet, pantry type deal that's just full of board games. We're, South Dakota, not much to do. Long winters like in Minnesota, very rural. 2 channels, remember. We didn't get all 3 of the big broadcast networks at the time. I realize there's more now. But anyway, so lots of board games, and I would get excited to take the kids out there. Candace brought up Operation just last week, I think it was. Yeah. And I was so excited to show the kids that one, especially the little kids. And the girls jump. Not one damn bone left in the game. I guess I can go on eBay and restock.
You could do just that. Never had Operation in the Gorman house for some reason. I had friends who had it, and it was always really exciting to get to play. For some reason, Imelda just never would bring that one home.
Oh, I had all the best games, man. I had that one, Don't Wake Daddy, Don't Break the Ice.
Don't Break the Ice. Remember that one? Yeah.
Mousetrap.
Mousetrap.
Mousetrap, the game no one's ever played. You just set the thing up and see if it'll happen.
Yeah.
That's right, you do. You're too impatient to do it, and then once you've done it,
Did you ever, what I got for Christmas one year, and it was my favorite thing ever. It was called Bing Bang Boing. Does that ring a bell?
Not for a board game, it doesn't.
Yeah, it was literally, all it was you had these tiny little, they look like ball bearings, but little tiny, they probably were. A little ramp they would fall down, and then you had little, for lack of a better term, little trampolines, and you would line them up, and you would hope the ball would bounce off the one and hit the second one, then hit the third one.
Sounds familiar.
And then it would go into a little dispenser and then come out in another direction, and then you would just try to line them up so that you could just have all these ball bearings bouncing nonstop around off these little mini trampoline things. And they didn't make sounds like Bing Bang Boing. That's just what they called it. And it's the kind of thing that by, I'd say, 10 a.m. Christmas morning, I was already over it. But from 8 to 9:30, oh, man, that was living the life.
That was good stuff. When Stratego was one my brother and I played.
Sure.
We'll still get back together and get a good game of Stratego or Risk. Very similar.
Nothing better than just wreaking havoc as the spy. Very vulnerable, but very deadly if you play it right.
Unless you hit that bomb, brother.
That's it, man.
Game over.
Rough. Yeah. Those are rough. There's another. Oh, by the way, there's another. If you want to recycle, if you're looking for parts, there's a website called BrickLink. It's just dedicated to finding spare pieces for old Lego sets.
Oh, cool.
Jeez.
Yeah.
No, not cool.
It is cool.
The idea is to get rid of the Legos. Once you acquire the Legos for the children, then you are on a mission to subtly, without creating any scars in the young mind, get rid of the Legos. I had a lot of fun putting the Legos and stuff together with the kids, but they do outlive, and it's time to, gift them to someone else.
I liked Legos, but until I stepped on one.
Exactly.
It's nothing worse. We already talked about my.
Is that why you run like that?
My tenderfoot proclivities.
I've never seen Candace run.
I won't.
Still yet.
I will not.
This summer, we're going to get you running somehow. I don't know if we're going to chase you, scare you, how we're going to do it, trick you somehow.
We could, you know what? Candace would be a human game of Frogger if you held Gigi across an 8-lane freeway and said,
That's how we do it.
Candace, come here, Gigi. She'd run right through traffic.
Psychotic.
It's pretty psychotic, yeah. Don't know why I just had to go there. Sorry, Gigi. Sorry, Candace. On the BrickLink, it's not just Legos because it is Legos. I just clicked on one. You can get the Hogwarts Castle Boathouse Lego set for $26.
Harry.
Oh, man. I like that. Harry.
H-A-I-R-Y?
Sounded like it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, there's all sorts of things. Oh, by the way, also electric guitars, man. Old pickups and tuning pegs. You can still sell those pretty quickly online. Someone's always looking for a pickup in your guitar.
Yeah.
Recycling is something else that Americans are constantly trying to figure out what to do. Google Trends, every now and again, they release the latest Google trend on recycling, state by state. What are we trying to recycle? What are we searching for? Let's see what we got here. People in Ohio and Vermont want to know how to recycle wrapping paper. That's what a fire pit's for, or a fireplace.
Yeah, right, exactly. Recycle wrapping paper?
Yeah.
My mom still saved all the bows. I don't think she saved now that I think about it, she wasn't that kooky. She saved the bows, which makes sense, I guess. But the wrapping paper that went. Yeah, that was its own big part. That was a big fire out at the farm pit out there.
Always.
You get just a couple of bags of just wrapping paper, and up they'd go.
Minnesotans love to Google, how do I recycle my television? That's number one. TVs.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? Here, I'm going to throw you a little something because I was doing some electronic recycling myself. A very old DVD player. I think it was a DVD VHS player, actually, but didn't work anymore.
Okay.
eCycleMN.com. Electronic recycling in Minnesota.
There you go.
So don't think electric bikes. That's eCycleMN.com. You got those old electronics. They love to take them off your hands. You're not going to get any money, but you're not throwing it in a landfill either.
That's a good point. South Dakota is up number one interesting, unique recycling search.
Yeah.
Egg cartons. Egg cartons.
That's art, right? Don't we have there must be a building or something covered with egg cartons that are cleverly painted?
Yeah.
Come on, really? All right. Well, I mean, they do recycle them. Don't you just drop them off at your grocery store? I mean, I don't. I don't know. I'm going to put that on my list of things. I'm really getting into recycling now. I'm starting to rethink this whole just chucking stuff, Oh, by the way, someone already texted me, eCycleMN.com. Sometimes they do pay for things, so I didn't want to blow that for anybody that was looking to maybe you got a hard drive or something like that.
Here's a couple that make perfect sense. Florida, number one thing, red Solo cups. Spring break comes in, it hurts, and they leave all the red Solo cups behind. And in Louisiana, also very much on brand, Mardi Gras beads. You know what? Please recycle those instead of bringing them home and telling all your friends, guess where I was? No one cares.
No one cares.
I have one, I have 5. One of my brothers has been going to Mardi Gras regularly since the early 80s. He and some of his college buddies.
All right.
And they still go, not every year, but probably on average every other year. And that sucker will still come back with just a trunk full of beads. I'm like, dude.
I know what you've been up to.
We get it. The parade. You were on the float this time. It was great. Like, really, I having never been to Mardi Gras, New Orleans, I probably should withhold judgment. But after a while, I just think, how can it still be fun?
You just think that's something you would kind of cycle through. I mean, listen, boobs are boobs. They're always fun. But, yeah, the collecting of beads and going through the process, I don't know. We have the internet now. But, yeah, I mean, hey, whatever. Probably just a nostalgic thing going with his buddies and one last grab for youth each year.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Candace, Indiana's #1 most recycled search lately, eclipse glasses.
Oh.
Which begs the question, where are your eclipse glasses?
Oh, I have them propped up next to a Valentine's Day card I got.
Oh, isn't that nice?
I'm a sentimental girl.
Are you starting a shrine with this relationship? Do you do that with relationships, all the keepsakes, and then they, of course, end up in the burning barrel someday? We're hoping for better with this one, but, just talking about the past. Yeah, do you keep everything, and then do you destroy it when the relationship's over?
I have done some interesting things with some things from previous men. Yes.
I'm curious, do you ever take those eclipse glasses next to the Valentine card and wear them while singing Total Eclipse of the Heart to the Valentine card?
No, I'm not a weirdo.
Well, moving along, here's what you don't do, and I didn't keep them for keepsakes, but sometimes the underwear, the undergarments, the panties, the bras would end up at the house and were never reclaimed. Here's what you don't do. When someone's at your house and they're looking for a bra or a pair of panties that isn't there, you don't reach in the drawer and say, I have some spares here someone left behind, and offer them those.
Yeah.
That sounds practical. That sounds like something that just makes sense, doesn't it? But dudes, don't do it. Don't do. You're not going to get a good reaction out of that.
There's never you never ever can get in trouble underestimating the common sense of the average dude. So if you think of a tip, trust me, it's not a given. It's not obvious. Share it always.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Tuesday, April 23rd. That was, of course, Heart with Barracuda. Heart back on tour for the first time in years. The Royal Flush Tour 2024. I'm looking at their tour dates. I don't see anything that ends in MN for some reason. Huh? Wow.
No,
that's rare.
I must have missed it. They're coming.
Yes.
To the Twin Cities. You know that for a fact.
Yeah, they're coming
Hinckley, Minnesota.
Yes, thank you.
There it is, the Grand Casino Hinckley.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the amphitheater up there, probably, depending on the time of the year. But this summer,
yeah, August 16th.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
And then they have August 17th off because, of course, they'll be celebrating my birthday and don't want to play a show.
Well, they'll probably be at your party. Aren't they performing?
You know it, Jack. By the way, my first ever concert was Heart in 1978. And then 12 years later, a mere 12 years later, on the road opening for Heart.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, right. And I told them, I was like, man, you guys were my first concert. I was in 8th grade. And they were like, oh, my God, you're making us feel old. And that was 34 years ago. And they're still out there rocking it. And I saw a clip from a show the other night. Ann Wilson, unsurprisingly, still sounds incredible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we may have seen the same clip recently. And you're like, that's one of those voices that if it started to falter, you'd get it. It's so perfect and loud. I mean, it's got all the elements. It's not only beautiful, but it's loud and powerful. And you'd think, if you lost an octave, a little bit of range, I get it. But yeah, it sounded pretty damn good.
Pretty awesome. And then, so before Heart, we heard Aerosmith. That was my first big tour in arenas opening as a member of an opening band was Aerosmith. And it was immediately followed by Heart. And in 1990, the guys in Aerosmith were aggressively sober. Like they had gotten their act together back in like 86. They put out Permanent Vacation, started this comeback nobody thought would last, and then Pump came out and it was even bigger, and they were really sober, and they were surrounded by sober people at all times, and to be on the tour you had to stay sober. They didn't allow us to bring beer onto the stage, to play our gig. And in fact, they tried to keep it out of our dressing rooms. They said, you'll have to keep any alcohol on your own bus. And we were like, well, that's not really going to last long. Come on. But so it was a pretty tight. The guys in the band were fine; they were cool, but it was a stiff environment at the time. It loosened up considerably, but at that particular time, summer '90, they were just very, very regimented. And so we opened for them for 6 weeks, and it was okay. And then we go out with Heart, which we weren't as excited about because Heart's cool, but Aerosmith is Aerosmith. And then we had it backwards. Heart was cool as they were the best. The guys in the band were all cool. Ann and Nancy were super cool. They weren't rocking as much because this is late 80s Capitol Records era soft sepia toned videos with hair tease Heart. But boy, the crowds loved them. And when they would decide towards the end of the set to bust out some of the old classic rockers, still, I'd sit through These Dreams and sit through whatever. Like,
what about Love?
I love 80s Heart.
I know you do, Candace. I know you do.
I love it.
And then, but boy, then they would start cranking all that stuff from my teen years, and it was like, good God, they're just awesome. Yeah, still great, just awesome.
I think Aerosmith had probably just go back to when they were, like you said, militantly sober. Mm-hmm. I think it was later, because it was about 95 before I got to KQ. I was working another station in town, and ended up backstage with some listeners and a beer in my hand and was told, you got to get rid of that. But I think, they had loosened up by about 95 or 96. I can't remember exactly which year it was. Then Perry comes walking in with a Heineken, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Heineken does not make an NA beer, but whatever. I wasn't going to argue.
Off and on, as it does. We did. I went to see Aerosmith in like 95, and it was an entirely different vibe. They had they'd gone through they had a manager for a while. The guy that was managing Aerosmith when they mounted that phenomenal comeback out of the ditch that they put themselves in by the late 70s, early 80s. What was his name? Tim Collins, I think. He was like he was like a Svengali character. Like he just took over their life and made every decision, and they were, but it worked.
Probably needed that then. Yeah,
they did. They were. That's not like, the singer had to get sober. That's every one of them had to get sober. Like they were a mess. Yeah, and they put it back together, and then hell, they're going on the road in September. All these years later, they're still trying to wrap up this career, which the original run of Aerosmith, what was it, 8 years long, 9 years long maybe, before it seemed like they were dead and buried, and now 50 some odd years later, here they still are. That was a very different scene for the time we were with them. And then, like, to your points, up a few years later, it was like totally chill, very, very different vibe. I walked into their dressing room one night. We were in Omaha or Lincoln, somewhere in Nebraska. I just remember, and we had, they were very friendly, some friendlier than others, but we were getting ready. We played our set, and they're getting ready. Steven had his own dressing room. The other four guys would be in the same room. And I was walking down the hallway, and I walked by, and the door was open, and I just looked in there, and Brad's like, hey, man, good set tonight. I said, hey, thanks, man. And it sort of lent itself to me stepping in to say hey to everybody that night, and they're all standing there, the four guys, not Steven, and there's like a awkward pause. I'm the drummer of the opening band, and this is Aerosmith, and they just kind of look at me because after me and Brad exchange pleasantries, it's kind of like, why are you here? It's like, I need to leave. But instead of leaving, I said, guys, let's gather around, okay? I'd like to share some thoughts before your show tonight. And they looked at me, and honest to God, but this speaks to where their heads were at the time. They all sort of gathered around, like they didn't.
Oh, they did gather.
They all were like, "Oh, what's on your mind, kid?" And I said, "Guys, it's a tough crowd out there tonight. It's Nebraska. You got to earn their respect. So what I want you to think of, I just go into this whole coach speak pep talk, and I go, I want you to consider the pugilist. What does he do? Does he come out and immediately throw a haymaker? Does he throw the uppercut? No, he jabs, goes to the body, to the body, to the body, and I'm like faint jabbing in Joe Perry's general direction, and I'm like, So here's the deal, guys. We are your first 3 rounds. We just went out there and jabbed for 45 minutes. They're wobbly. They're ready for the uppercut. You come out tonight. What are you opening with? What's the opening song? Train Kept a Rolling. I want you to swing that wrecking ball right as hard as you can. And by this time, they start to realize I'm just completely full of nonsense. And Joe, not Joe Perry's staying there. And by the way, the whole time I'm doing this, Joe Perry's not wearing a shirt, and he's ripped.
Of course he's not.
And he finally, in the middle of my speech, goes, "Get the F out of here." And just dead serious, though. He was like, because I know he was like, why am I listening to this idiot from my opening band?
Yeah.
And I turned around and just walked out, and I still think it's funny. It was 34 years ago, and I still think that was hilarious.
You punked Aerosmith,
That's
man.
what I mean. Like, I said, guys, gather around. And then they did. I was like, oh, my God, what do I do now?
That's outstanding.
That was good stuff. You find yourself in some odd moments occasionally.
Yeah, you seize the moment. You go with it. Yeah.
The other odd moment on that tour, night in and night out, was Steven, again, very sober, would come up to us and go, "Did you guys get high last night? What'd you do? What'd you find? Let's go. Come on, tell me. Did you meet any girls? You get drunk?" Oh, he just wanted to hear the war. He was hoping we had war stories. And we're like, "Steven, I don't think we could tell you anything that you haven't, lapped the track 60 times around."
He wants to revisit it.
Yeah.
I had a very good friend I worked with that had gone through treatment, some serious addiction, health problems. But clean and sober the whole way now. Had gone to some dark place, hit the bottom, rock bottom, as they say. And the same thing. I was definitely in my party single days, and he wanted to hear everything, blow by blow, man.
Sure. Yeah.
He'd be, yeah. And I'm like, okay, this feels weird because I'm actually sober now. This would work a little better if I was still kind of drunk from last night, but I'm sober, and it feels stupid talking about this. But I would kind of lay it out, give him a scenario. Sometimes I'd embellish it for him, just because I saw that he was close to just having a real fun moment there. So, yeah, I don't know. I almost said climax, but that was weird. I never talked him into a climax. But, yeah, no, I totally get. Some people just hit such a bottom. They've got to hear about it just to know it's still out there. It's still happening.
Sure.
And they're okay with it just as long as it still exists out there.
It's funny. We were on our first tour, first album, and I'm 24, 25. I'm not a kid, but compared to them, I'm a kid. And I'm still, it's first time really seeing the whole country and then the world and all that stuff. And Steven would say things like, he'd come up and go, "Hey man, you ever wake up and you ever dig holes in your backyard looking for all the dope you buried because you know you'd need it one day?" And I'm like, "I don't even smoke pot, dude. What are you talking about?" It's just like, no, I actually haven't trenched my own yard looking for bindles of coke I buried high last time.
I'm picturing him. He probably had some castle up in Marblehead or something like that.
Oh, sure.
A wealthy suburb of Boston. Yeah. And I could see him out there in his flowing garbs and a spade. Just digging. Yeah, there's Steven out there digging away.
Now that I'm thinking back and telling these stories, I'm like, man, I got to go see Aerosmith again.
Yeah?
Who am I kidding?
They're swinging by, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. By the way, Black Crow's opening for them this time around.
That's right.
So that's interesting. That's a got to think about that one. But no, it makes me kind of want to see Aerosmith one last time. The other thing about Steven that I picked up on really quickly, a lot of people do know this, but they had a little warm-up room, like a side room with some amps, little amps and a small drum kit, and they would get in there and warm up before the set. And I remember thinking, like, my God, warm-up gear. What must it be like to have 2 drum kits, And I walked by there one night, and I was walking down the hallway, and I actually heard it. And it sounded like it was just like a James Brown riff on the kit, like funky drummer stuff, Clyde Stubblefield. And I was like, man, Joey is getting some work done in there. And I poked my head in, and it's Steven. And he's just killer drummer.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like, it was bad groove. And I was like, holy crap. And, of course, he's in a onesie. He's in a unitard.
Yeah,
like
a
one piece. He's dressed like it's, he's 2 hours away from being on stage, but he's ready to go at all times.
He and Cher's wardrobe, we were talking about that yesterday. Not far removed from each other. Yeah, they could swap.
Very similar body types, too, if you think about it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they could wear each other's clothes. Sonny and Cher. What's wrong with Steven and Cher? Why can't that duet be a thing?
God, no kidding. Can you imagine? You need a semi just for wardrobe, each one of them.
I can't imagine Steven Tyler in a thong.
Oh, I can. I've seen it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I've seen him in something very thongish on stage before. Yeah.
Thieves. I mean, I want to see
when he spins around.
Sure.
Yeah, when he spins around and the trench coat goes straight out, because it's a pleated trench coat and it goes straight out. Yeah, you'll catch some cheek.
He's actually got a nice little booty.
Sure he does. Yeah, man.
He'd be the first one to tell you, probably.
He's got good stories too, man. He,
bet he does.
What's the song on that "Living on the Edge"? Which is, I don't think that's on Pump. I think it's on I forget. Get a Grip. There's that pause towards the end of the song, and then it comes back in with the giant bass drum. Living on the edge. That bass drum was played with a giant mallet on like a marching band bass drum, like a 28 or 32 inch giant, the kind of bass drum you wear in like a marching band. And that was the drum Steven Tyler was playing in his high school marching band when he was expelled from school, and he walked home. He just took the drum. He was like, I'm sure I'm taking this thing with me. Kept it all those years and used it on an album in the 90s. I always thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
I mean, I'm a guy who's been fired from several restaurant jobs, and I would always leave with, some of the food we were making or a case of beer. There's always like your instant severance. I can't imagine getting kicked out of high school and taking a marching drum with you. That's badass right there.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'm trying to think of anything I might have stolen. I stole your pole vaulting pole. Yeah, I ended up taking mine with me. Think about something. Now, he took a drum. I mean, that just looks cool sitting in a dorm room and your old a batch pad there. Yeah. Turns out he's a musician and one hell of a drummer on the side. Who knew? So that could come in handy, and it did. He used it actually in the recording studio. I had a big, long pole that was just hard to get into any place that I lived, let alone no one ever went, is that they just really didn't know what it was, but I felt like I had to have it. I don't know whatever happened to it. Got left behind somewhere.
We were talking about this once before, and I forgot you actually pole vaulted.
Well, I didn't say I was good at it.
But you tried it.
I did try. My senior year, I picked it up because it was your senior year of track is. I mean, I was in track to kind of stay in shape and to kind of get out of farm work. To be honest with you, any sport I could play where I didn't have to go home right after school and do chores, I was all interested in. But by the time I was a senior, now we're skipping classes and we're driving around having keggers. You could drink legally when you were 18. When I was growing up in South Dakota, I turned 18. Last thing I wanted to do was go run around a track 1,500 times right before I wrapped up my school year. But the coach was like, man, we need you to anchor the 1,600-meter relay. Come on, man. So he said, you don't even have to practice. Just show up for the track meets. All right, I'm getting more interested. Yeah. But I didn't want to do all that running. And I thought, I'm going to pole vault, mostly so I could just lay on the porta pits and watch the gals run around the track.
Sure.
But I did get into it. I get into things. I get obsessive. And I decided to try and really get into it. Didn't do too bad. Went to the state meet. I cleared 12-something was my high, which isn't impressive. There are kids here in junior high that may be listening, or parents going, yeah, my kid did that in 9th grade. Okay, but hey, I was pretty much self-taught as a senior, and I got up over, I think, 12.3 something.
Anybody who has run full speed holding that giant pole, stuck it in a hole, and then propelled themselves up and over a bar of any height is pretty incredible to me.
Well,
that's something I never in a million years could have imagined doing that. I mean, the high hurdles was my idea of an incredible gauntlet to try to run over.
Yeah, it was a good time.
No,
I remember having that old pole.
Man, there's a. I will get down the odd rabbit hole occasionally, and not that long ago, I just saw a whole clip of pole vaulting unsuccessful attempts. And man, they just get worse, and especially when it is like a high school meet, sometimes it's like top shelf, national trials, and somebody just for whatever reason screws up. But then when you see it's a kid, and the thing that you normally see from the younger ones is they go at it and they just don't have the speed, and they start up and then they just stop, and there's that nth of a second where they're just frozen, and then they go right, and then gravity goes, let's go back down here.
Right back down the way you came. I didn't have any spectacular ones. I had a few ones. There would be guys that would crotch the bar every once in a while, but it was so bendy, it didn't hurt anyone really in particular. But I had a few that didn't make it up and over, that sort of thing. But
there was a track and field team at my school, as small as we were. There was no pole vaulters. We did have the shot put. There was some field events. There was shot put and discus. There was no hammer throw. There was no pole vault. But my brother was a really good high hurdles guy. But that just bizarre synapses in my brain. But the shot put, there was just one kid, and he didn't play any sports except he did shot put, and he was really good at it. Like, he would go and compete with the big public school kids, and he would always be right there. He's the only person I know personally ever convicted of murder. He's in prison.
Okay, never mind. I was going to say that was the best one the one I was at.
Please tell me he murdered someone with a shot put.
I wish I could. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the closest I ever came to seeing somebody grievously injured by a shot put, it wasn't, here's a weird setup. We had a performance gymnastics team, like that, tumblers and kids, and there was if you haven't figured out yet, I went to Geek Central High. And so they would go set up at like a mall or different, the Rotary Club luncheon. Here's the UHA gymnastics team, and it was like, but we had a handful of kids that were talented enough and good enough at cartwheels and handsprings and back handsprings where they could do it. It was like a Blue Angels or Thunderbirds routine. They would syndicate it. I mean, all syndicated. They were all syncopated, do their bits. And so part of the show was there was a clown called Festus. And this kid in our school played Festus the Clown, and he was actually really funny. He had all these bits, and he was basically just stealing bits from like the Harlem Globetrotters. He'd have the bucket full of water, and then when he threw it in the crowd, it actually was feathers, but you thought you were about to get doused with water. Those little sleight of hand, 2 buckets and the trick. Well, he did a thing with the shot put. We had 2 of the big guys in the school, including this kid Joe, who went to prison. They'd walk out and they were throwing a 16-pound shot put back and forth, and it would land at each other. They wouldn't catch it. They'd throw it and it would land, and it always thud really hard on the floor. And then Festus, the clown, would do a whole thing where he would try to pick the shot put up, but it was too heavy to pick up. And then he would get it up and he would drop it in his bucket. And inside the bucket was a Nerf ball, like a soft ball that was the exact same size that the audience didn't know. And then he would end up throwing that ball right into the crowd. And but anyone in the seats would assume it was a shot put coming their way, and everybody would always go, ah, and then it would bounce off harmlessly. And that, that was the whole bit, right?
Yeah.
Well, I went along with the gymnastics team as the manager, to literally be towel boy, just to get out of school one day.
Yeah.
And they put on a show at the Western Kentucky State Mental Home, the cuckoo's nest of the state of Kentucky is in my hometown, Hopkinsville. It's a giant mental home facility, and it's literally, if you watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, that's what it's like inside there. And we went and put on a show at this place for a bunch of the patients. God bless their souls.
After medication, I hope.
Oh yeah, and so, but it was. I just remember this. This is a long way to get around to something that may or may not be funny. So Festus is doing his bit with the heavy shot put. It's in his bucket, and he can't quite figure out what to do with it. And he picks it up out of the bucket, but it's the little soft ball that weighs an ounce, but it looks like a shot put. And he does the thing where he starts spinning his arm, and he does he loses control, and he spins around like it's a hammer throw, and he just whips it into the crowd.
Yeah.
And 2 of the patients jumped up to catch it. Because they missed they were like, oh, I'll catch that. Like they just, and so like in their mind, it's like, yeah, let me grab that 16-pound shot put that's coming right at my head, no problem. Instead of ducking. And then and nobody responded, nobody reacted, but the guy caught it, and everybody just looked at him like, yeah, nice catch, dude. And he sat back down.
Yeah, they're medicated to the gills.
The whole thing was lost upon everybody in the room, and I just remember sitting there going, I'm never going to forget this moment.
That's art, baby.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, sometime I'll tell you all about the time my local community theater group went and did a presentation at the Eddyville State Penitentiary. That was a whole other story.
Oh, man.
For a whole nother day.
We just went, before we jump off to here, it's reminding me now that as kids, our little local church group would go to the old folks' homes and sing Christmas carols. Mm-hmm. And I just remember one year doing this, and I'm very young, maybe 8 years old, and a 100% buck-naked woman in her 80s just walked right between us and the little audience we had there, just right through the room, and no one really even responded. But, yeah, I carry that scar with me to this day. At 8, you're not ready to see what would have been my great-grandmother at the time naked.
No one needs that. You don't need that at 8. You don't need it at 80, frankly.
No, you don't.
Let's look back. On this day in 1993, Nick Anderson of the Orlando Magic learned a very, very valuable lesson. He scored 50 points. It was his career high in a regular season game against the New Jersey Nets. And nobody cared and nobody talked about it. And to this day, nobody cares. And the reason is his teammate Shaquille O'Neal ripped a backboard down on a dunk. He dunked so ferociously that the entire backboard collapsed onto his own back. The place went berserk. Game was delayed for 45 minutes. They replaced that backboard. Nick Anderson walked off the court a little while later with 50 points. And again, nobody cared.
Nobody cared. I remember the first time hearing that being done was Daryl Dawkins, Chocolate Thunder, the Philadelphia 76ers. He did it twice in like a couple of week period.
He sure did. The first one was,
man, that was the greatest thing ever.
It was amazing. He did it against the Kansas City Kings on the road, and then like a couple weeks later at a home game in Philly, he was like, well, I got to do one for the home crowd. He did one there again too. That's when that's what led to the breakaway rims. They were like, we can't do this. So for Shaquille to break the backboards that he did, that was just completely insane. Totally different animal.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.